Hello, friends and bees and friends who are also bees. Welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. That's right, I actually remembered what day it is today. Please be proud of me. Hello. My buttons are all messed up on my stream deck, I've just noticed. This week, for Indie Thursday, we're going to be continuing our adventures in Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi. When we left off last week, we had met Rika and she freaked us out a bit, but not badly enough to scare us off for real. And this week we're going to keep investigating Hinamizawa and seeing what's going on. Also, throughout, please actually post when I tell you to, stream deck. Fine. There we go. Don't know what's going on with Stream Deck at the moment. Throughout the stream, as always, for the last couple of streams, I am raising money through Tiltify for the Bail project. If you want to help donate, you can click on the link which has just appeared in chat. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, it will be down in the description, very first line, so you can go donate there. I would be donating money myself, but I checked my account this morning, donated a fifth of the money that I have available to spend this month, which is money that I'd usually spend on like food and other essentials. So we'll see how much more I can donate when next paycheck comes around. But for now, I'm just gonna see super quickly. Okay, so Stream Deck is now giving me an error when I try and do a thing. Why is it doing that? This is my first, like, it's been a while since I, It's been a while since I tried to use checking the thing quickly. Sorry about all this. Stream Deck is wonderful, but sometimes it is also a nightmare. The entire thing has just crashed, so I working? Stream Deck, are you working? All because I hit the wrong button. Tell you what, let's swap to the gameplay. And I will try and fix this in my own time. Okay, it's working now. There we go. Right. GP. There we go. Make sure that this is actually paused. It is. Dope. Right. Continue. Sorry about that. I have terrible luck. Continue. Phone makes me jump every time. The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m. Damn it. Slept past the time I was supposed to report in. Picked up the receiver. Akasaka-sama, you have a call from an outside line. Shall I connect you? It's from a coworker named Kanao. I know it. I didn't call in so they'd phone me. Sorry, please put them through. Understood. I'll connect you, so please hang up the receiver for the time being. After I put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again. Yes, hello? This is Akasaka? Akasaka? This is Kanao. Kanao. Good work out there. You didn't call in for your regular report, so we called instead. What's your situation? Leaving the lecture for later, my senior co-worker got straight to the point. Today I went to the village proper. Under the guise of a tourist, I managed to establish contact with the mayor and several other core members of the Defence Alliance. I wasn't able to ask them anything, but I left a good impression and was able to make a bridge for my investigation from tomorrow onwards. I see. Looks like things are going smoothly. Akasaka, you seem rather naive sometimes, but that might have worked in your favour. I guess you made some good progress for now? I don't have the experience to make a comparison, so I don't know if that's good or not. I think things went well for today, though. Did you find anything out from prefectural or local officers? Does it look as though the ODA is unrelated to this incident? I still didn't know. Should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason, I hesitated. I'm still investigating, so I don't know what to say yet. I see. Could you let us know as soon as possible? I think you understand, but after tonight it'll have been a full 4 days since the kidnapping happened. They didn't set a time limit, but it's obvious that time is not on our side. I think you know that. Yeah, I know. I'll investigate a little quicker, while still being careful about it. Okay, be sure to look after yourself. You're dealing with a violent organisation here. Might be dangerous to let your guard down. If you feel that you're in any danger, contact me immediately. In that case, I can get the local public safety office prepared to help you. Thank you. I'll do my best. Anything else to report? Reported several bits of supplementary information, and at the very end I decided to ask, how's the investigation going on your end? Everybody's doing their best here, but we're not making much progress. After all, the number of organisations who are investigating is vast. So if you find out that when you're investigating is in the clear, we'll have you return to Tokyo to assist some of the other officers. Chief is saying to dig up what you can on Onigofuchi, but I don't think a residential anti-dam protest group has any relation to the incident at hand. I'm sure it doesn't. That's obviously why we're playing a game set here. Sending somebody out to investigate a single group makes me cringe, really. At this point, he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop taking time enjoying my trip, to finish up and get back quick. I'll try and resolve this as soon as I can. Thanks, I'm counting on you. Well then, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Okay, that's all I have. Fucked up my voices, didn't I? As we were ending our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Oishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and a place to meet with the informant tonight. Thought about getting angry with Oishi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily report. Come to think of it though, Oishi didn't really say anything other than that he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come was in itself rather difficult. Tell me about it. Just when I thought that, the phone rang. I pick up the receiver in a hurry. Hello? Well, this is a surprise. Akasaka, you're pretty quick to answer the phone. Are you a regular user of dating chat lines or something? Would never try something seedy like that. Why you overreactors? Rather interesting. Haha. Want to go to a place where you can have a little bit of lewd fun? I'll pass, so could you please get to the point, Mr. Oishi? Really? Too bad. We'll leave that for next time then. Well, I'll get to the point. Wonder who the informant's going to be. Many of the executives in the ODA had a lot of sway in the neighbouring regions. Even in Okonomiya, there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why meeting in the Shishibone market district, far from Okonomiya, was a matter of course. Akasaka, over here. Did you get a little lost? Coming from the north entrance might have been a bit of a detour, but it was easier to give directions from there. This is where we went on our date with Shion. As Keiichi. No, I'm sorry for being late. Did you eat dinner already? Yeah, I already did. Well then, should we go to a place where we can get a drink? I hit the wrong button. Do you prefer Western alcohol? Or maybe sake? Would you prefer a place with or without women? Hoo-hoo. Don't worry about it. I don't drink while I'm on the job. Hearing that, the man that Oishi had brought along bent back with his cigafard, clapping Oishi on the shoulder. See? Isn't he just adorable? In exchange, can you give him a bit extra? That money all came from this guy's wallet, you know? The man that Oishi had brought along seemed almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. Appearance. The informant grinned deviously. Hey boy, how much did you give this guy? Looks like there was quite a bit skimmed off the top, you know? Oishi's handling fee was included, so I took that into account. Seeing the informant had expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realised that I was an entirely different type of person than he was. Rather than putting a distance between us, it seemed I'd piqued his interest. I said it, didn't I? He's the serious type. But do you see, Akasaka? People in a line of work like ours can really use the wealth of experience to their advantage. I'm wondering exactly how the experience of drinking in a bar with women would work to my advantage. Haha. Informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his stomach as he could afford, heedless of the people watching. Oh lordy. Akasaka, you really can judge people. That's what an education does for you. Mr. Oishi? Been drinking somewhere, haven't you? You drunk? What's wrong with drinking when I'm off duty? Even if you're working, I'm not. Oishi, who was the sort that fooled around to begin with, was in such a good mood I couldn't figure out a way to deal with them. Completely different from me, who'd come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Mr. Oishi, after taking so much money, you're supposed to get me information worth at least as much. I thought this, but then realised that I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Oishi was. It was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. Oishi and the informant. It was no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato, led the way deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district. Really not sure who this is. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street and you're in a desolate alleyway, Oishi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open or if it was even a store at all. Don't worry. This isn't a dubious place. Ooh. Those words coming from Oishi's mouth had absolutely no credibility. Beyond the door was, thankfully, a typical mahjong parlour. I was relieved that it wasn't the sort of suspicious place I had to be on my guard about. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Mr. Oishi, it's been a while. Want to join in? There'll be a free spot soon. No, I'm here with the group today, so it's fine. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. Seems that a middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us. You're late, Corrado. I was just thinking of going home. Oishi made an excuse for why we'd taken so long. Eventually realising that I was new-faced, the other man grew interested. That's Akasaka. He's a rookie who came all the way from Tokyo on an assignment. They have high hopes for him. Boy, can you play mahjong? Well, I played a bit when I was still a student. Sato and the old man cackled in unison. The plot to sucking me out of my money was painfully obvious. I thought you'd be a bit tired from your assignment leaving you on edge all the time. So I thought I'd give you a night to cleanse your spirit. Hoo-hoo. I know asking this now might be stupid, but we're all police, aren't we? Haha. Well, let's not talk about that. Loosen up a bit, we won't actually gamble anything. We're just deciding who's going to pay for everyone at a very nice place afterwards. Go and play? What kind of place would you be doing that? Without the reservation, the 3 of them started suggesting places like cabaret, high-class clubs, and even brothels. At the very least, they were type of places you couldn't go to with money that was just for funsies. Oishi took all my money the other day, and I also have work to do, so I can't stay for long. Then all you have to do is win. If you win, then you won't have to pay for this table, and you can talk to Corrado about work or whatever. No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing mahjong for free. Would have to fasten my resolve a bit. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work. I understand. Then I'll play with you guys for just a bit. If I win, you guys don't get any of the money or to go to any of those dirty places, and we talk about work right away. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Bring it on. Woohoo. If I win, we're headed straight to the Blue Mermaid on Flower Road. This old out here likes that place too. Of course, we're gonna hop between all the places where they keep the girls coming. Akemi... What about you, Sato? Prefer a place where we can drink quietly. Like a nice quiet place with a bunny girl? Haha. Last time we went drinking, you pulled the tail right off that bunny girl, didn't you? Didn't you end up having to pay for that? I only started a bottle of Dom Perignon on my tab and called it a tailoring fee. Haha. What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. I wish she'd taken all the money I'd brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around him like this, though, through his goading, my wallet would disappear into the night. Don't we all know people like that? I just put my drink down my front. I'm a capable adult. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry, Yukie. Time for the dramatic music. Well then, I'll just call Ricci here. While the old man and Sato probably want so full for this silly Ricci, I wonder if Akasaka will spit out what I need, hoo hoo. At any rate, Karado's hand is probably holding something like that, huh? In that case, this one ought to go through. There! Oh ho, old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? Seems that Akasaka has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Riichi. That'll be his downfall. What's wrong, boy? Would you hurry up and discard? If you're not sure, anything that Karado's already thrown away should be safe now. Ooh, Akasaka's really fretting over this one. It was clearly only obvious that he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it'd move him farther from completing his hand. Ah, they're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on, hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be headed to an established... Landing one tile, headed straight to... This will go through, right? He looked up as he hesitantly threw out a tile that was... Oh, too bad. Hey now, that's a dangerous tile, you know. Karado, does that go through? Yeah, it will. Seemed this time you were lucky, but as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. I don't understand Mahjong in the slightest. So too complicated for my tiny brain. After that, Akasaka managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anyone completing a hand. Tenpai. Tenpai. Not ten. Sato had keenly anticipated that two players were in Riichi and had decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Let's see what kind of hand did Akasaka have. When the round ends with nobody winning Mahjong, everyone in Tenpai has to show their hand, but if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand even if they weren't in Tenpai, and start a commotion about how if this tile or that tile came, they would be in Tenpai. But he didn't. Being stingy? How'd you do, boy? Come on and show me. Sato reached over to flip the hand that Akasaka had casually placed face down. What the hell is this? He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka totally bad at this after all? Right then, as the old man compared the tiles from Akasaka's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face. Boy, you were in Tenpai right around here, weren't you? Why'd you break your hand? The higher Manzu tiles suddenly got more valuable, so I held them back, even though the chance they were safe tiles had increased with respect to Oishi's Riichi. Would have been safer to read the discards, but there was a player who went out of their way to keep the tiles out of play. Oh, so Karado's Tenpai was no good from the start, in other words. If it wasn't such a high-level trap, I would have thought that you were waiting for me to throw out a winning tile, but the more concerning thing is that you were in Tenpai and didn't say anything. When did you realise I was in Tenpai? Around here? You threw out 4 tiles in a row immediately. First I thought you were discarding one-turned tiles, but I noticed you glancing over at me and realised you were waiting for something. Akasaka, Akasaka, when did you first start playing Mahjong? I never did, except in high school and university. Now let's continue. Since Sato wasn't in Tenpai and the round ended without a winner, then I'm next, right? Next dealer. Seems like Akasaka is really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were just going to eat him alive, but it looks like that isn't going to be so easy. Akasaka, looks like you're going for the bamboo tiles. Should I put some in play? Shh, this boy. Crowd up, don't back down. As long as I get 3 more good tiles. Sato, think you can do it? Damn it, I'll just force you to go for a cheap Tanyao. Chi! Straight? Well, sorry, I'm gonna pond that tile. Whoa now, gonna call a 3 of a kind after you declared a straight? Trying to override and interfere? Boy, you're getting pretty used to this. Oh no, I couldn't even compare to you guys who've been playing since before I was even born. That's game. Run. Triplets, 2 red Dora, and 3 more red Dora. I'm the dealer, so this will cost you quite a bit. Gah! Akasaka, nice job. Now we'll have to get serious, won't we? Well, can you get serious about handing over your points? I'm tired, so let's end this quickly. Akasaka? This is somehow unreal. Before I could realise it, there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka's feet. How blasé. 2 and 5 and 8 Manzus are laughing at you. Damn it, boy you. Crowder, finish it. You have to end the boy's turn as dealer. I hate to admit it, but that seems like the best option. There it is. Run. Simple straights, 1 Dora. Sorry, head bump. Run. Straight. A head bump? You damn brat. Brat? So you play that sloppily against a brat? Guess that means you're worse than a brat yourself. So interesting, where you guys call people things like brat and boy. Akasaka? That is you, isn't it? Feels like you're a totally different person. You thought that I, being a psycho, would you let you drink some good booze tonight? Seems you're a little off the mark. Run. Triple straight, red Dora, and another Dora. Whoa, he actually did it. So I'm saying you guys are slacking. No matter how you look at it, you have to be able to read such an obvious 3-way weight. Akasaka chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. Pose was so fitting that it was almost scary. Hey, Corrado, this isn't what we discussed. Who the hell said he was a knife sucker ripe for the picking? Ah, who could it be? Oishi, this is bad. If he keeps going like this, we're seriously gonna lose. Akasaka, for you to make me get serious, looks like you really want to be milk dry. Pon. Pon. Sounds nice. One more time. Pon. Akasaka was almost singing at this point. The tiles he had open were all pin tiles. Can't be serious. You really going for the flush? Pon. Boy, are you right in the head? You've opened 4 sets. You only have 1 tile left, you know? That's right. Did you know? Waiting on a single tile is the hardest thing to read. Are you an idiot? With that much of your hand revealed, you don't think it would give you a tile you need, do you? Hoo-hoo! I know what you're doing, Akasaka. It's not a flush or a half flush, is it? The fact that you called Pon 4 times means you're already in position for an all triplet hand. Right now, you're far and away in the lead. Trying to show a flush and goad us into giving you triplets, aren't you? That's what you think. Want to try throwing out some pins? Left 5 tiles in your hand, Oishi. They're pin tiles you're reluctant to throw away, aren't they? Why don't you try discarding them in order from the left? Must be joking. Is he a marchand god? If not, he has to be the main character of a manga or something. At the moment, the old man sent me a sign under the table. The message was simple and clear. Corrado, do it. Crush him. I don't like to cheat against kids like these. Idiot. After being disrespected like this, we can't pull back now. Well, I'm not responsible for what happens, you know? Go ahead. Here we go, boy. Ruchi. We'll go open. I'm waiting for a 1, 4, or 7 of pins. Most likely the tile that Akasaka was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile that Akasaka would draw. The tile that I put in was the 1 pin, one of the tiles that the old man was waiting on. Akasaka discarded a little while ago, so there was no threat of it being the one he needed. Come on, it's your turn, boy. I knew he was troubled that the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course, he couldn't discard it. Boy, you must be aware that if you discard into an open Riichi, it's worth a limit, you know? You don't have to tell me that. The tile that came from Akasaka's hand was an honor tile. Phew, ain't that something. There's only 1 Northwind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough rate, weren't you? But with this, Akasaka's fate was decided. Heh, brat, you're lucky you're safe. But your hand only has a single tile. Think you'll be able to run away the rest of this round? Heh. So it's gonna be like that. Akasaka glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating? Let's stop this. Akasaka's a step or 2 ahead of us. Fool, you think we can stop after we've come this far? Next, make him draw it. Next tile Akasaka would draw was a 7 pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout. When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Akasaka's. Achoo! Crash. What? Akasaka suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him. Hey, what are you doing? Sorry, I accidentally knocked over the wall when I sneezed. There's a penalty for that, right? I'm the dealer, so 4,000 to everyone? Or should I pay a deposit? Haha. Unable to hold back, I go forward. Akasaka, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, took the drastic measure of knocking over his own wall. You're a good boy, to get away from a full payout like that? Haha. Mr. Oishi, could you not bother putting me in such an obvious trap? If you were at Bappa, this would have been the point where I flipped the table. Oh no, sorry. I underestimated you. For some reason, you're really good, aren't you? Answer me honestly. You got a lot of experience when you were younger, didn't you? Played quite a bit around Waseda and Takadanobaba. The place I frequented banned me for winning too much. I made the woman who'd become my wife pretty angry, so I washed my hands of it all. Raised the stakes too high? How much were you playing for at the time? Depends on who I was playing with, but I had an almost perfect record of playing in Kabuchiko, especially since when I played against a certain crowd, my life was on the line. 20 times? Kind of stakes were those? Did you have yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players? What's this? Corrado, you buffoon. Where'd you pull this guy from? He's practically a professional. I give up. Cheese. Boy, it's your win. I surrender. Thank you very much. It was an honor. Haha, oh my. Akasaka, your personality really changes when you play. Why'd you even have a day job? You'd have no problem living as a freelancer. To be a pro Mahjong player, you need both talent and luck. I didn't have anything like that supporting me. Luck is luck. For somebody of your skill, I think you'd be able to make it pretty far. Normal luck doesn't cut it. Calling in a can at 1 time out of 3 you can aim to win at the extra draw with 4 Dora, that kind of luck. Akasaka, if you can judge something like that, you're already bordering on the supernatural. There's plenty of people who can do that without cheating or superpowers. There was a person I met in Shinjuku who would get Doras every time he blinked. He was strong as a demon. There's a pro I played with in Yokohama who would draw the towel he needed immediately after calling Ricci like it was an everyday thing. I don't have that kind of luck. What type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance. Well then, is it right if I'm declared the overall winner then? Yeah, we totally lost. I lost. It's been a while since I lost this big. Still, when you were playing, boy, you're pretty into it. It's kind of scary. I hear that a lot. I don't mean to change gears like that, though. Did I really look that scary? Yep. The three of us nodded emphatically in agreement. So that was Akasaka, the Mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home, play for his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table at my place. But it's not good to get greedy. Hoo-hoo. Well then, nothing for it. It was a promise. We'll break up a little late-night study group right now. Sorry about this, old man. That's it for tonight. Nothing you could do. I'm going home to sleep. My body won't last like this. Problems at work? Oh, he's the foreman of the primary construction site at the Hinamizawa Dam. He's butting heads with the residents every day. It's a rough business. From next year, I might be in charge of the second site as well. I heard that Kuroda was pissing blood. He won't hold out much longer. Oof! You'll be alright, old man. Your skull is thicker than it looks. I'm not exactly a saint, you know. At times it just makes my blood boil. Especially can't stand dealing with that bratty daughter of Sanazaki's. I think one of these days I'm going to rearrange her face. Now. At least the pay is good, right? I heard the wages were pretty exorbitant. Of course they are. If the pay was cheap, no one would hang around in that god-awful job. Hey Kurada, exactly when are the police going to tell all the villagers to show off? There'll be a notice of eviction from the government, right? Maybe? I wonder what will happen. The old man who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinamizawa Dam has beautiful complaints until he felt quite better about it, then left quietly. Well then, let's go. I'll leave the rest to Sato. Mr. Oishi, are you going home? If I'm here, I'll just be in the way, won't I? Besides, the one who brought Sato services was you. I didn't pay for my share. Mr. Oishi was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. The music's just gone, so I guess it's because it got serious. I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Oishi's generation from that part of him I didn't comprehend. Then, boy? No, I can't pull Mr. Mahjong here boy no more. Is Akasaka alright with you? Yes. Then, Akasaka, shall we go? This definitely feels like a trap to get our face beat in, just saying. Well then, Akasaka. Later. If you're having any trouble, you can count on me anytime. I don't have any more money to pay you, you know that? Okay, if you go easy on me the next time, we'll be even. Haha. Oishi, seemingly still not had his fill of playing around, but without ever saying his welcome, disappeared into the night. The informant, named Sato, had got me into his car before he'd set off. Had me get into his car. He favoured narrow roads and made numerous short left turns. Checking if we're being followed? Yeah, you know a lot about this. Check and see if you were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you're being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not. Didn't hear anything from the boss as to who you are, Akasaka. Related to the police? If you're familiar with checking for being tailed, the only possibility I can think of is something like a private detective. If it's not something I have to say, I'd like to refuse to answer that question. My. Ever since we played Mahjong, you seem a lot more mature. I wonder where that hesitant person went from when we first met. I smiled dryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play Mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato, confirming there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the lights outside. This is how to get your teeth bashed in, right? Only things I was able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs. I heard from the boss that you want to hear about Hinamizawa village, yeah? Like about the old houses known as the three families who control the place, or that right now it's pretty much the Sonozaki running things? If you know that much already, I'll cut out the introductions. Then, if you would, can you confirm or deny if the ODA is involved with the kidnapping of Minister Inugai's grandson? Sato checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anybody behind us before speaking. Last night, the Sonozaki main house held a family council. Did you hear about it from the boss? No. If it was a normal meeting, then it would just be all the relatives coming over for a nice cup of tea or something. But a family council held by the main house isn't quite so relaxed. A family council held by the Sonozaki main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamizawa village. They wouldn't be talking about private family matters. It would be about the village as a whole, about organising activities against the dam project. Amongst other things, everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. At the head of the meeting was Oryo Sonozaki. More or less called Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision-maker of the clan. She was to be feared and respected. Burning a candle and it keeps tunneling really badly and it's annoying. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seemed that lately she had grown weak, and on days where she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred while she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of a dignified Japanese style room, sitting on a futon, on the other half of her body was sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryo Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was the heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her roles did really sit beside Oryo Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryo. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki's leader. Also on either side of her, several other important members of the remaining three families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was, of course, the mayor of Hinamizawa village, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. Okay. Don't have any other artwork for him. And lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite to them sat the other of the three families, the Furude family. The Furude family was only compromised with the family of a Shinto priest, so the only one sitting there was said priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seemed that Oryo was no exception. While the stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryo's futon like it was a kotatsu. All this was the three families, and all around the room, lined row upon row, were relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position directly on the tatami mats. With Emperor Sonozaki enshrined at their centre, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. Let me read that sentence again to make it clearer. I'm sorry if I'm dropping frames. Hopefully it's just the screen and not my voice. The fact that the Sonozaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. The number of members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa. What was talked about at that meeting? Sato, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak. I really want to know who Sato is. Wasn't a monetary gift of appreciation to the media a little large? Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. The ODA wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organisation pushing for the cancellation of the dam project with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they'd managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, that amount was steadily declining. This is an era where you can get what you want just by throwing rocks. It's very important you don't underestimate the power of the media, and we want to borrow some of that down the road. The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested they should borrow that power was the family head, Oryo Sonozaki. Matter wasn't just about force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oryo suggested that, creating a strategy incorporating the mass media, Orio's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even 1 day, then the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. Couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But as with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonozaki family, no, the one who sat at the pinnacle of the three families, Oryo, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media. What do you think, Oreo? The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonosaki household herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oreo, with a hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she'd severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening or didn't even have the intention of listening at all. Last year, we went through a lot of trouble getting people to wrap their heads around the price hike on the bulletins we were putting out. We convinced them it was just the one time. It just wouldn't do if we had to add another one this year. Right, Mr. Frude? The mayor looked at the priest and his wife from the Frude family for affirmation. Priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response. He's not good enough to get, an image, I guess. But his wife gave her answer without a second thought. That's right. The cost of the bulletins is a particularly harsh burden for the poorer families. Everybody's dealing with it for the sake of the village, but it's best we don't increase the prices anymore. The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the ODA. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. Bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but was rather something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it became something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for the ODA. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa it had silently become the opposite. In the neighbouring towns as well, it seemed that many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. Priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but it was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. You wonder maybe if this is part of why they were killed year after next. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always held the power in their relationship. That was because she was the one who carried the Frude bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the three families. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant he'd still not gained any favour. Casting a backwards glance at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signalled by a look from Mario, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. There, something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple of questions, with a nod from Mario, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words. There will be no freeze on the price increase for the bulletin. Kimiyoshi made a face like he'd just been into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared like it never happened at all. But, Mion, I think you already know this, but the cost of the bulletin is by no means easily affordable. It's a burden carried by everybody in Hinamizawa. If we make people carry too much of that burden, it's possible we'll collapse from the inside. And who on the inside would start that collapse? Who? I didn't mean it like that. I'm asking who would be the first to buckle. Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childness remaining with her. I can't speak. I've lost the ability to speak. The words stuck in Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated the question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained from making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she spoke were unarguably said on proxy for Oreo. That's why when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oreo's, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking down on them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oreo, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise even for a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid. Fair? Very fair. She's super cute as a kid, though. Kimiyoshi. Nobody will lose their resolve over something like a price hike on the bulletin. Kimiyoshi, while grumbling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection. The expenses related to the mass media will continue. If those expenses become too much, we'll have no choice but to continue the price hikes. Mion had rendered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads, silently listening to her words. In the name of Mion Sonosaki, as acting head of the Sonosaki family, I hereby declare that this shall all be effective immediately. There shall be no objections, and any opposition shall be removed by force. The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There'd be no retrial. There was certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signalling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell. Well, it's a rather old-fashioned family council, isn't it? A young guy like you would probably find it hard to believe. In an antiquated place like this, these types of things have firm roots. It was exactly as Oishi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished and now the Sonozaki family was running things by themselves. I definitely got that impression. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic. Was that the end of the meeting? No, there's more. I'll continue. Eventually, after the ring of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of a gang that her father was the leader of. That organisation had the entire area of Shishibono City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, this was talking about the criminal underworld, so it's not just like anyone would know, but just showing a patch with the gang signal on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighbourhood. Mion's biological father, Toorio, was her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the ODA. Yep, that's pretty much what we suspected too. So that man, from his positions next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to just tell what she'd heard directly to Toorio? It looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded his response. Mion also nodded, then sidled up to Toorio and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message, separated herself from Toorio, and fixed her posture, waiting for Toorio to signal her response. It wasn't often that Toorio showed any emotion. That's why, when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everyone in the room. It's quite the conundrum, isn't it? Heh. Toorio was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask. What is it, Ms. Toorio? If this land is like a mother to us, then this business with the dam is like somebody threatening our mother's life, isn't it? Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Toorio, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everybody and addressed them in a clarion voice. This is my old woman voice, by the way. The minister behind the dam project is apparently rattled over the kidnapping of his grandson. That makes us even. Heh. That's absurd. Information on the kidnapping of Minister Inugai's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How do they know? Even we didn't know much about the kidnapping incident. Exactly how did an educated household so far away from Tokyo come to know of it? Wink, 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 wink. It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Hinamizawa village. At some point I'd mentally filed this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind. How did the ODA know about that? Sato, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence. I'm sorry. Please continue. Sure. The Minister of Construction's grandson was kidnapped? Toorio, is that true? That major of an incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers or on TV. But in Hinamizawa, there was nothing strange about Toorio knowing something the rest of the world didn't. Our pain is the pain of losing a mother. I don't think it completely makes up for it, but the pain of losing a grandchild? You'll have to bear with that for a bit. Don't you think? The last question wasn't addressed to anyone in particular. It was as if she was looking for a consensus. Still, land and a human child are different things. I don't mind hiding him here, but I want no harm to befall him. Child isn't to blame. Make sure to keep that in mind. Means that the ODA were involved in the kidnapping? I can't say for certain. Why? Even though the leader, Toorio, was clearly giving orders in the treatment of the kidnapped child? Lad, you see, this is what the Sonozaki family always does. Always does? What do you mean by that? Let's say there was a particular problem, one that wasn't exactly favourable for the Sonozaki family. If Toorio shows concern over that problem, hearing that, somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Orio's wish would be granted. However, neither Toorio nor anyone else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands laid out on the table. So even if somebody else had kidnapped them, by Toorio saying, don't punish the boy, then they would obey her because she's Toorio. That means that somebody who was at the family council was the culprit? Or there's a possibility there was never a culprit in the first place. Toorio herself in that room of people didn't explicitly say that somebody pulled off the kidnapping. She was just giving her opinion. It was an odd and unpleasantly secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or weren't they? I couldn't see beyond the veil. This much, however, I could say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position someone was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who'd know about it, they'd be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself, including the minister. There'd be people affected by the incident, or the people that committed it. In any case, there was no way an old house in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. Them knowing at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow. That's as much as Oreo said in regards to the kidnapping. Hopefully what you wanted to find out was in there. After this, it's up to you. I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but if you're going up against the Sonozaki family, you'd best prepare yourself. I wish you might be fearless, but even he's been attacked 2 or 3 times. He hasn't been wearing it lately, but at one point he was wearing a stab-proof vest while off duty. Oh? Thanks for the warning. I'll be careful. You speak pretty well. Are you from Tokyo by any chance? Huh? What's your point? Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself. Your job? Could you possibly be somebody from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division? Couldn't remain silent here. Be the same thing as admitting it. Huh? No way. This wasn't accounted for in the money I got from the boss, but as somebody who played the same table today, I'll give you this one as a freebie. After Oreo talked about the kidnapping, there was one other topic that came up. Another topic that Oreo brought up, and right before he told me this, Sato had asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those 2 things meant caused a chill to run up my spine. So you see, that in order to investigate the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, there's word there'll be an investigator from public safety dispatched all the way from Tokyo. An investigator from public safety? They can't be reckless and make a big deal over the kidnapping, so it seems that MPST is investigating this on their own. Ain't that grand? What is it? Rika, who'd been showing the entire time and is completely uninterested in the conversation up until now, looked up at Oreo with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up. Did the Metropolitan Police come? Oh, so Rika knows about the Metropolitan Police Department. That's very admirable. So tempting to call them the Met, because that's what we call them here, Met Police. Who came? Is there anyone that knows what kind of guy from public safety came here? Mion's father raised his hand slightly. I hear that it's a nice young piece of fresh meat. Fresh meat? Is it nice and tender? Haha, yeah, it is. Fresh meat. Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's question. Tender and tasty? Yeah. Tender and tasty. Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer to. Does Rika know something about this old man? About this man, rather. I don't know. After her rather flat reply, Rika buried herself under Oreo's futon again. But when she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation. What should we do about him, Mother? Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face indicating that, given the order, he could snuff out the problem any time. He came all the way to Hinamizawa. Let him take it easy for a little while. So you're saying just let him go around as he pleases? Mion's father asked in response. Oreo smiled thinly as she responded. Leave him alone. But if he starts causing too much mischief, when that happens, don't hold back. I don't enjoy being taken lightly. Is what they talked about, apparently. Couldn't be that you're that fresh meat from the Metropolitan Police, are you? Couldn't be. Haha. Sensation of cold bristling fear had begun to crawl its way up my back. The family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today was I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Hinamizawa. My cover was already blown? When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the family council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. Then this person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at that bus shelter, did Rika already know my true identity? Did she know that I was Akasaka, dispatched from the Met, and come to meet me? Then including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to, because Oreo had given instructions not to interfere? Thinking about it logically, didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. There's people that are good at acting, then there's people who are bad at hiding things. There was that many people, then there should have been somebody amongst them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. My guess is Rika guessed. I wonder why she would be interested, because if it was before he arrived. Very odd. Maybe she's just interested because she's Rika, you know? but I feel like she didn't tell anyone. That's just the impression I get, though. Sorry, I'm trying to get my candle to stop tunneling. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then, even still, why did Oreo tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were careless about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka is a coward. I recalled that strange voice, which could only make me believe that Rika had been possessed. Wink. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. But then, how did it warn me? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the ODA had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought on by the unknown girl stuck with me with more. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing I would eventually regret? Everything, probably, no doubt. That mysterious girl, Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I hear to HQ and await further instructions. There was no mistaking the possibility that the ODA were related to this case that was there. And the fact that my cover was blown meant I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support. Is that everything? If you want, I can drop you off wherever you like. Ah, sorry. In that case, the station where we originally met, please. A rural road where even a street light was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Or was there something lurking there, waiting to strike? Almost definitely yes. I had to think I drew this short sword here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. As well it should, because shit's gonna get fucked. How do I know? I have played this game. If you just heard a weird sound, by the way, that was the sound of me poking down some of the wax that had tunneled in the candle I'm currently burning in order to try and get it to melt down. I always have this problem. With every single candle that I ever burn, this always happens. I have very bad luck. Yeah, yesterday when we met at the restaurant in Ginza, that topic popped up. That's overstepping the boundaries, isn't it? They're meddling too much with public safety. If they keep doing that, they're going to set a bad precedent. Seems that Minister Inuga is openly uncomfortable about the way public safety is doing things. Vice Minister is probably going to say something to that effect during Monday's debate session. But what can you do? We can only have the director address the Vice Minister. That's why we pay him the big bucks. Well, if it comes to that, they're going to ask him for proof that the minister is being threatened. Sometimes I don't know what side he's on. If he's not on ours, then what? Well, he's probably getting some pressure from the minister. We'll probably just have to proceed with the investigation while he sweats it out in the Vice Minister's office and buys us some time. He might get Sarung out to dry that all that'll be left of dregs, though. So how's the investigation going? All the juicy leads I was pinning my hopes on turn out to be duds. Honestly, I'm at a loss. The reports that the Hinamizawa dam project has been showing up a lot lately in the minister's press releases, so what about that? Well, you say showing up, but it's really more of a slight feeling that something's strange. Just happened to mention it during a speech at the XX Prefectural Forum, so it might just have been something he was mentioning because it was relevant at the time. If I remember correctly, a local organisation there was protesting quite violently. No? The ODA? I think Akasaka was investigating that. I think those guys are possibly behind what's happening now. Even if we can't say there's anything overtly suspicious about them, it might not be prudent to remove them from the picture. Akasaka reported in passing that he couldn't deny the possibility. Then isn't there merit in investigating them? We're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, so if they're one of the suspicious groups that are left, we'll have to eventually. Well, they're not the only group we should investigate, right? Haha. If we're just talking about groups as suspicious as Onagafuchi, there's quite a few of them. We don't have the men, the time, or the money for all. I'll try asking for more details from Akasaka. I feel like we should pay some extra attention to this defense alliance. He's reported that he's established a rapport with the villagers. Also seems that he's collaborating with the local police. Keep your contact with Akasaka on the down low. Also, if there's anything as info that merits investigation, it's possible we can send reinforcements. Got it. Sorry, Chief Kataoka. There's a phone call from the director. Should I transfer it over here? No, it's okay. I'll head over there. Yes, hello?
Hello?
That's how you answer the phone, right?
Hello?
What's in the box? Do you believe that there are choices in life? There are many people who lament the following. If there only existed points in life where there were clear choices to make, we'd be able to scrutinise those carefully and make decisions that would lead us to a better future. Every time I hear people lament as such, I cast it off as a rather trivial worry. Even if you were given a clear choice, it wouldn't be meaningful at all, and there wouldn't be any such path to a better future. Is this hard to understand? Then let's pretend that in front of you there are two strange boxes. In other words, you have two clear choices. Do you open the red box or the blue box? A lot of things would be uncertain even with that choice, wouldn't they? If you don't have the option of opening neither, then your choice boils down to the natural impulse of opening the box that holds a better result for you. Then after examining the shape and features of each and pondering a great many things, you have to pick either the red or the blue. If this was you, which box would you open? Red or blue? If you were to go by the traditional meanings, then red would be a dangerous, threatening colour. That doesn't automatically mean that it would be calm and relaxing inside the blue box either. In fact, it might even be that the colours are a trap, to make you wary of the red box and have you open the blue. A trap? Could it be the contents of the box aren't a reward, but rather a penalty? See, now you're at a loss. So conflicted over the choice between red and blue that you started wishing there was an option to open neither and just leave. But there isn't. You have to open either the red box or the blue box. Forgot to say this, but if you choose one box, the other will disappear. So you'll never know the contents of the box you don't open. Just put that rule at the end for you. Now, why don't you choose? The red box or the blue? It's right, you won't lose anything by picking either one. Come on now. At random, pick red. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this colour, didn't you? As soon as you chose, the other box disappeared. So you can give up on the contents of that one, okay? That's the rule. Now open up the box you chose. Inside the box, there was a piece of caramel. I know you're a little disappointed. That's only natural. No matter how you look at it, it looks like you drew the dud. Correct box might have had a bar of chocolate in it for all you know. In fact, something incredible like a pair of tickets to Hawaii might have been in there. Bad choice at the moment. But even if you wanted to verify that, the other box has already disappeared. There's no way you can check now. But a piece of caramel is still pretty good, like it could definitely be worse. Think about it from an optimistic point of view. Maybe the other box was empty and this box was the winner. And being satisfied, or perhaps not, with such a cheap price, you pop it in your mouth and start chewing it happily. So what do you think in the end? If you were given a second chance, would you try to open the other box? But unfortunately, the chance to choose between the red box or the blue box has come and gone, never to be seen again. The chance to change your selection will never come. Don't your parents often say, every choice you make in life only happens once, so choose carefully? See? Choices aren't that great after all. Aren't you a little disillusioned now? Haha. Who is this narrator? Whomst? Yes. So the week will be from 6 PM tomorrow, and the service will be the day after noon until 1. Day after from noon until 1. The venue will be Okonomiya Ceremony Hall. I see. It's Deputy Mayor Ikazawa's grandson's funeral we're talking about. We have to pay our respects. Mion, I'll have you go in my stead. Okay, got it. Should I wear mourning clothes? How much should I bring for the funeral offering? You can go in your school uniform. Make sure you button it up properly. For the money, 50. No, 100,000 yen. They've done a lot for us. Mion quietly whistled in awe at the exorbitant amount of money her grandmother was offering. That's about £100, I believe. Ikazawa's been a prudent person ever since his days as head of the Okonomiya Municipal Office. Even if those government types paid me a visit, they'd always stay outside. But whenever I offered Ikazawa a cup of tea, he'd come inside and carefully listen to what I had to say. He always lent a proper ear to what people had to say. Others should learn from a person like him. The two guests made a show of nodding, making it clear that they were paying attention as Oreo reminisced. The sight of them trying not to get on Oreo's bad side was humorous enough to elicit laughter from Mion occasionally. How young was Deputy Mayor Ikazawa's grandson when he died? 11 years old, apparently. Oyo closed her eyes and shook her head lightly, lamenting the loss of such a young life. If I recall correctly, he said he only had one grandchild. How sad. There's nothing worse for a parent than outliving their offspring. You're really nice to other people, Granny. If Shion or I died, would you be this sad? Don't be stupid. Saying something like that is bad luck. Having got the reaction she expected, Mion cackled. The two guests, unsure if they were supposed to laugh long, instead forced awkward smiles. We'll take our leave for today, then. We'll be by tomorrow evening at 5 to pick you up. Until then, please excuse us. After banging their heads repeatedly, the guests left by the front door. Mion saw them off, waving her little hand goodbye. They're gone. It must be rough for them to pay you a courtesy visit, Granny. It would have been fine if they just broke the news over the phone. It was true that Oreo Sanozaki was a central person for both her relatives and the residents of Hinamizawa village as a whole. As a voting bloc, they numbered in several thousands. It wasn't hard to imagine the mayor would try and pander to her. Unlike Mion, however, Oreo was looking up longingly at the sky from the veranda. What's the matter? Are you going senile? Haha. Just thought that no matter whose grandchild it was, I'd feel sorry for them. Saying that, she let out a deep sigh. Mion was let down, as normally her grandmother would have scolded her for her attitude. Mion, you know that minister's grandson? How long has it been since he was abducted? 4 days, maybe? Oreo let out another deep sigh. He may be the grandchild of our bitter enemy, but I still feel sorry for him. Really? That's enough of a warning. We should bring this to an end soon. The playful expression drained from Mion's face, leaving behind a stern one, and then, as if to ascertain Oreo's will, looked into her eyes. Oreo, expressing her intention with only those eyes, looked back into Mion's. I want some tea. Could you call for some? Some of that chocolate, too. Mion gave a small nod, then turned around. Shimiko, are you in there? Grandma wants some tea. Could you prepare some? From far away, a voice responded the affirmative. Mion, after confirming she'd been heard, picked up the phone and began dialing. Hello? This is Mion. Yeah. Is my father there? The fact that it's called the glint in the demon's eye seems to impress Jesus, implied to me that Mion is at least also somewhat possessed, possibly. I had a restless night's sleep. I did nothing but turn over repeatedly during night that seemed like it lasted for an eternity. Apparently the next achievement is called Mission Accomplished, which seems suspect to me, given that we've got 3 left to go, but it doesn't seem to it doesn't really say like what order they come in, so I did nothing but turn over repeatedly during a night that seemed it lasted for eternity. Even then, I eventually fell asleep at some point, not really realizing how high in the sky the sun had risen. I shook off the urge to go back to sleep. It was then that I noticed that the phone was ringing. The time was almost 10:30 in the morning. It was clearly too late for a wake-up call. Akasaka? Good morning, it's Oishi. Hoo-hoo. Waking up to the sound of Oishi's voice was a little too much of a shock. My delicate ears were ringing, but thanks to that shock I was suddenly wide awake. Hello, good morning. Could it be you just woke up? Even though you're on assignment, it's still not good to be asleep during regular business hours. I've been really bad at doing this recently. I'm supposed to be, like, in office hours from 8:30 to 5, and I've been sleeping in till at least 10, if not later. It's going to be a real shock to the system when I have to start coming into the office proper, which may be as early as next week. I've been told I have to go to a risk assessment meeting, despite not being in a management position, at the college next Thursday, which is fine because I need to go. I work in a college, a practical, what's the word they look for? Vocational training college. I've been told that I need to go in for a risk assessment meeting with some of the actual managers next Thursday, despite not being a management position and being shoved into this with not being paid for it, which is at campus next Thursday. Also, despite the fact that it means I will have to get public transport because the only person who could viably give me a lift is still stuck in Canada. I've had no information about what the return to work is for us, which is great. Just wonderful. Anyway, that's my little rant. You're absolutely right. I'll be more careful in the future. I have another tidbit that might wake you up even more. There was something interesting mixed in with the lost and found at the Hinamizawa police box. Lost and found? Let's leave the details for when you get here. You think you'll be able to make it before noon? No, I'll be there right away. I wish you already knew what my mission was. Since Oishi said it was something that would wake me up, it was hard to believe that it would be irrelevant to me. Honestly speaking, judging by the information from Sato yesterday, knowing that my cover was already blown, so I just knocked a lip balm over, I couldn't wander to and from Hinamizawa carelessly. In other words, my investigation was at an impasse. If there was some information there that could put me back on the trail, that would be nothing less than a stroke of good fortune. After vigorously washing my face, I pulled on my jacket and hailed a taxi, heading towards the Okonomiya police station. Oh, you're here. The genius mahjong player has arrived. My apologies for being late. So, exactly what popped up? With absolutely no intention of reminiscing about last night's mahjong game, I pressed him to get to the point. Oishi, anticipating that I'd act this way, cut to the chase without any resistance. Finally, Jesus Christ. Like I said earlier, something arrived in the Hinamizawa police box lost and found this morning. Lost items that were turned over to the police were sent to Okonomiya Station after the paperwork was filled out. Oishi pulled out a plastic bag from the drawer and laid its labelled contents on the desk. Is that a wallet? Indeed. There was a small change inside, but no bills. We thought that a pickpocket threw it away after pulling out contents at first. Didn't understand how this wallet, so far removed from Tokyo, could possibly be related to the kidnapping. If it had drawn Oishi's attention, it would have to be something dramatic, like if the wallet belonged to the missing grandchild. That'd be absurd. Like something that convenient would happen. If that was it, then there were probably initials written on the wallet, like the initials of Toshiki Inugai, the minister's grandson, T.I. Thinking like that, at this point I didn't suppose that this wallet was something that could get Oishi so excited. Oishi, after putting on a pair of disposable plastic gloves, handed me a pair of the same. Didn't feel that this wallet was such an important thing, so I had my doubts about whether there was any point in putting in gloves. However, I didn't want Oishi's intentions to go to waste, so I put them on. Oishi opened up the plastic bag and pulled it out, showing me the back. As I'd imagined, there were initials engraved there, but it was slightly more detailed than what I had thought, with Toshiki I marked on it. Oishi grinned at me with a look on his face that said, "See? Can't confirm that this belonged to the minister's grandson," I informed him calmly. This wallet was irrelevant. It had nothing more than Oishi's over-eagerness. First of all, there was absolutely no way in this distant locale that the missing grandson's wallet would be found with such convenient timing. After all, the ODA wasn't related to the case in the first place, so there was no way this wallet belonged to the grandson. Why I wanted to decide that was the case, even I didn't really know, even though what should have been a top-secret case was leaked before I'd even been dispatched. In this situation, how could I say that this was definitely unrelated? Would it be more prudent to pay attention to this wallet? It had only been a couple of days since I arrived in Hinamizawa, but in those couple of days, due to the number of remarkable events, my nerves might have become just a little frayed. Shaking my head slightly, I cleared up unnecessary thoughts. Oishi opened the wallet zipper, revealing the contents. Inside was small change and a number of crumpled receipts. Oishi, from that jumble, pulled out a folded card. Seeing that, my heart stopped for a moment. It was a card from a dental examination. The name, Toshiki Inugai, and the age. A perfect match. The dentist's location was in Tokyo. There was no need to explain any further. How far was it from Tokyo to Hinamizawa? Far enough that taking the bullet trains and cars would still take several hours. Why would a wallet with a dental examination card from Tokyo inside show up in Hinamizawa? Could it belong to a tourist who came from Tokyo? Maybe a villager on vacation to Tokyo just happened to pay a visit to the dentist? No, it had to have fallen into somebody's bag by accident. In my mind, it desperately struggled to find a possible excuse as to why this wallet didn't belong to Toshiki Inugai. It was as if it just wouldn't do for this wallet to belong to him. However, weeding out any possibilities for error one by one, the haze surrounding the wallet in front of me faded, gradually letting it come to clear focus. See? Felt a shiver of electricity run up my spine. My pulse quickened and a thin film of sweat began to coat my entire body. From Oishi's point of view, I was probably just slack-jawed and spaced out with a slovenly look on my face. Did you get information from the dental office? That's your job, Akasaka. I didn't go that far. When did this wallet show up? The person who picked it up was a villager. They did so yesterday, it seems. Nor that, I mean, when was this wallet dropped? It rained here last week, exactly 7 days ago. Doesn't look like the contents are water damaged. The longest it could be would probably be 6 days. Does anybody else at the station have knowledge of the existence of this wallet? The officer who first encountered it at the Hinamizawa police box, and also the 2 or 3 people in charge of the lost and found. Other than that, it's just me and you. If it's involved in a classified case, it'd be bad to talk about, wouldn't it? I don't want 10 to wag my tongue. May I borrow a phone? Go ahead. Dial O to get an outside line. I dialed the phone number inscribed on the examination card. Could hear my pulse pounding inside my head. Could there possibly be something so absurd? The addresses on the receipts and cards inside the wallet were all from the area around where the grandson lived. The name on the I really have forgotten how to speak, Jesus. The name on the examination card was also a match. The time we deduced that the wallet had been left behind also matched up with the timeline of the kidnapping. Of course, it was possible I could just laugh it off as a big pile of coincidences. There wasn't any strong evidence. Rather than all the circumstantial proof, the contents of the phone call I was about to make would have a much greater meaning. Hello, sorry to keep you waiting. This is Nakagawa Dental Office. Hello, this is the Okonomiya Police Department. I have a misplaced wallet here and I'm trying to get in contact with the owner. Would you be able to help me? Inside the wallet there was an examination card from your office. Yes, the name is Toshiki Inugai. To give you the number on the card, would you be able to look up the phone number? Yes, thank you. If you could. Still holding the receiver, I pulled out a notebook from my breast pocket with my free hand. I opened it up to the page with the grandson's address and phone number recorded on it. Yes, hello. Yes, go ahead. I compared the phone number written in my notebook to the one that was being read out on the other end of the line. During that process, I spun around to look behind me uneasily. I locked eyes with Oishi. Oishi looked puzzled, wondering what the matter was. Why would I feel uneasy and look behind me? That was because the person on the end of the line was reading out the number as doing so straight from my notebook. Seeing that HQ was in quite an uproar thanks to my report. No matter how many times the authenticity of the evidence I'd linked to the grandson was called into question, I could only respond that it was the truth. When the lead investigator first picked up the phone, I was grilled about the evidence I'd found that was almost too good to be true, if I do say so myself. But after having doubt after doubt dispelled, he fell into silence. The receiver was finally handed over to the section chief. When he picked it up, the background thrum on the other end of the line disappeared, and I knew that it had gone completely silent. After asking the same questions about the wallet that the lead investigator did, the chief quietly spoke his next words. Got it. We'll dispatch several people as reinforcements. They should be able to make it there by evening. Akasaka, please continue with your investigation of the area. Get some information on the spot where the wallet was found. Kanno will select some people and head directly there. The fact that he was sending Kanno, the lead investigator here, meant that the chief had decided there was a possibility that the ODA was somehow implicit in the kidnapping. Obviously. Forehead. Felt as though when the lead investigator, whom he trusted, had verified the evidence with his own eyes, he was still going to be sceptical about it. Like this music. How'd it go? Seems that HQ was sending reinforcements. I was ordered to investigate the area. Where was the wallet dropped? Around Takatsudo, apparently. This is Okonomiya. All the way over here, this is Hinamizawa. Then, even further upstream, way up around here is Takatsudo. Oishi explained where the wallet was found by pointing to locations on the map on the wall. This place called Takatsudo was even more remote than Hinamizawa was. There's hardly anyone living in the area around Takatsudo. It was deserted a long time ago. It's littered with abandoned houses, so it's really quite desolate around there. Mr. Oishi, could I ask you to guide me to Takatsudo? Yeah, I don't mind. You can't really get in and out of Hinamizawa as you please by yourself, after all. Of course, I'll have to make you wear the cap and mask again. That Oishi had agreed to accompany me was very reassuring. If Sato's info was to be believed, my cover had been blown. I wasn't sure if the villagers had realised that the fresh meat dispatch from public safety was the choice that had visited the village yesterday, i.e. me, but deciding that they hadn't noticed would have been overly optimistic. Unfortunately, given a cursory thought, Takatsudo, where the wallet was found, couldn't be ruled out as a hiding spot for the kidnappers. In fact, it makes more sense, doesn't it, to keep the kid in a deserted place. The Takatsudo area didn't have any residential buildings, nor was it along a highway. There wasn't any reason even for the locals to go out and visit it. Sorry, I need to swap back to auto. There we go. It's exactly what we'd call a long-forgotten ghost town at the end of the road. You couldn't ask for a better place to hold a kidnapped grandson. There's several conditions. Hang on, I'm going to skip some dialogue. Also, you couldn't get to Takatsudo without passing through Hinamizawa first. Those several conditions made the area all the more important. I couldn't brush it off any longer. There was no longer any doubt that the ODA, or somebody you'd hired by them, were involved in the kidnapping. If that was the case, then the fact that this wallet was found might already have been linked to them. I'm just going to blow this candle out and deal with it tomorrow. Even though so much as how the Public Safety Division was operating, in case the wallet couldn't be something it didn't know. In that case, there was a possibility that the enemy was lying in wait. To dive then into enemy territory surrounded by enemy territory, to say the least, required an amount of courage and a recklessness that I did not just did not have. Good lad. Without your company, Mr. Oishi, I wouldn't be able to step into the village so easily. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Honestly, I thought you'd ask for more money. Well, if we're being honest, Hinamizawa isn't exactly a place I'd like to go to. I'd at least appreciate it if you paid for a cab fare. Still, it's not a request I can refuse from a friend that's played at the same table as me. Hoo-hoo. Oishi grinned as he pounded me on the back. Struck me that he just didn't want to jump ship rather than having any sort of sense of duty towards his job. Even so, that didn't really matter. Right now, I really appreciated the gesture. Well then, shall we hurry up and get going? If the enemy needed the police to obtain the wallet, they'd probably have moved the hostage to a different place. There wasn't a moment to lose. But Oishi, without regard to the fact that they were about to head out, began to remove his jacket. What are you doing? Well, just a precaution. If you want me to poke the beehive to get your honey, I have to be rather well prepared, you see. Do you want to put one on too? What Oishi pulled from the drawer below the desk was a stab-proof vest. Sensible. His name was Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction, Inugai. There was only one reason for him being here. If you didn't include gym or art class, his grades were above average. This was a result of having private tutoring sessions twice a week. If you omitted the fact that he still couldn't do pull-ups, there wasn't much else that would make him hate school. Of course, he understood full well that his grandfather was a cabinet minister, but he also knew that not too many people were that interested in their relationship. He didn't like to go out of his way to bring up his grandfather, or to call him the Minister of Construction, and he at least tried to know a little more about what kind of work the Minister of Construction did than your average Joe. What that entailed was that when you tried your best to make life better for the masses, sometimes you made a few enemies. He knew that all too well from the time he spent as a class rep. His grandfather had many enemies. He knew that he might personally catch some of that fallout, so he had to be twice as cautious. He was taught that by his parents. That's why the moment he was kidnapped, he instantly knew that this was one of those occasions. He understood that he wasn't being treated as Toshiki Inugai, the person, but rather as Toshiki Inugai, the grandson of the Minister of Construction. That he wasn't personally at fault, but that this was a result of some unavoidable trouble with his grandfather's work. Made little difference, but when he realised it wasn't because of anything he did, he was able to relax, if only a little. Of course, at first he was struck with a terror befitting his age, wondering what was going to happen to him. But after a while of being tied up and only able to stay lying down, he began to ponder a great many things. First he thought about the reason he was being abducted like this. He understood the answer to that easily. He was taken hostage to coerce his grandfather, the minister. There was no doubt about that. He didn't know exactly what the Minister of Construction did, but it was easy to imagine there was much to be gained from threatening him, like anyone really. He respected his grandfather more than most. He honestly believed that his own grandfather was within the top 20 most important people in Japan. That was exactly why he wouldn't forgive anyone who tried to threaten his beloved grandfather. More importantly, he wouldn't forgive anyone who tried to use him as a tool to threaten his grandfather. His grandfather was busy and rarely had time to meet with relatives. That's why, with what little time he did manage to scrape together, he just dropped by and announced. And as an apology for not being able to meet during New Year's or summer's vacation, he doted on his grandson very much. The number of times that Toshiki was looked upon with disregard just because his grandfather was a politician and a minister certainly weren't few, but he never thought even once that he wanted his grandfather to quit being a politician. Because it was his beloved grandfather, he wanted him to continue his career as long as possible from the bottom of his heart. I never thought about my grandparents with such depth as a kid. But TBH, 2 of them were dead. The other 2 were both retired, so... Toshiki was now being held hostage and his grandfather was being threatened. His grandfather, who called him the apple of his eye, was surely suffering. He might do anything to save his grandson. Maybe even putting aside his ideology if it was required to save his grandson. He might cave in to the culprit's demands if it meant saving his grandson. When Toshiki thought about that, an inexplicable anger welled up within him. In his current situation, he was unable to give the cowards who'd make his beloved grandfather suffer by using such dastardly means. Feelings welled up inside of him, displacing the fear. What he thought at first was something any boy would imagine. Get out of these bonds, beat up the bad guys, then hand them over to the police. Images of all the brave heroes from all the manga he'd read passed through the back of his mind. In his imaginary scenario, he slipped his bonds easily, floating like a butterfly to evade his captors, then stinging like a bee to bring them all down. You know? In the end, it was nothing more than a silly little fantasy, but with his vision obstructed and unable to see anything, it was something he could get into more than any anime at the moment. In actuality, he was enjoying these little scenarios in his head for the long period of time he was tied up. His captors hadn't done anything to him that they would feel sorry for. Eventually, he began to grow tired of his fantasies, and more realistic scenarios began to run through his head. It was then that he realised that none of them were a solution. He wanted to do something for his grandfather who was being threatened. That he was being held to inflict pain on his grandfather was the thing he could least forgive, and also the most vexing. And then he noticed. There was a much simpler way he could save his grandfather without having to beat up his despicable captors. That was to remove himself as a hostage from the hands of these villains. If he was to disappear from here, his captors would have nothing to threaten his grandfather with. The captors restrained him, but they didn't treat him roughly, and they made sure he was fed well enough. Meaning at most he was nothing more than the means for their threat. They weren't looking to bully or kill him out of spite. This is genuinely one of my biggest, fears, is being kidnapped like this. You wouldn't get much out of my family for ransom. Not particularly wealthy, but, Completely distracted, sorry. Lost track of time. Lost track of time. My anxiety's been very bad recently, which means I've been picking at my cuticles a lot, which means I've started picking at them and then just completely spacing out and staring into the distance. And no matter how much I try and stop, I can't. And this is the bad place. They weren't looking to bully or kill him out of spite. If he behaved, no ill would befall him. Realising that gave him a strong sense of courage. Carrying out his train of thought this far, he let it run its course to its natural conclusion. Right now, at this moment, Toshiki and Yugai had decided to escape. His ears had been stuffed with a sponge-like material, acting as makeshift earplugs. They didn't actually do much to block out any sound, and he could overhear everything his captors were saying. Realising that this was to his advantage, even when his captors spoke to him, he acted like he couldn't hear them through the earplugs. His captors thinking he couldn't hear their conversation, talked about all sorts of things without any reservations. Nice. Good kid. Thanks to that, he was able to obtain various pieces of information. First off, this wasn't Tokyo. Seeing that this is quite a distance away, and on top of that, in the countryside, nestled deep in the mountains, it also seemed that his captors were inconvenienced living out here, so we could deduce that this place was far removed from any sort of town. Finally, whenever they went out to buy food or other supplies, they would always take a car. That fact caused him some dismay, because he knew that the method he learned at school of running around blindly or shouting for help wouldn't work around here. He paused his little mental escape scenario there. His ultimate goal was to find someone who would help him. If somebody who fit that description wasn't close by, his chances of escaping successfully grew slim. A desolate far-off land deep in the mountains, a place where you couldn't even go shopping without using the car. In this situation, escaping would be very difficult. For a while, I got super obsessed with I survived stories or experience blah 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 happened to me, and quite a few of them are things like this where it's I went out for a hike, got lost, and then spent 3 days out in the arse end of nowhere unable to find help. Escaping would be very difficult. He grew depressed, and after a little while he returned to his original scenario. Imagining becoming a hero like in the manga he read and beating down his captors became his respite. As he placed his illusions out in his head, his heart hating surrender, continued to search for a way to escape. And then he thought of a way. If the goal was far away, then all he had to do was get closer. His goal, in a nutshell, was to find somebody who would help him. In other words, somebody other than his captors. If he faked being sick, then his captors would have to take him to the hospital or bring a doctor to him. They'd probably be reluctant to do that, but he already knew that the hostage was more important than anything. In the off chance that something happened, like him dying, occurred, they wouldn't be able to threaten anybody anymore. He'd experienced it would help him fake serious illness. At the end of last year, he was inadvertently involved in a car accident and had to undergo surgery. The surgery from that scar was very clearly visible on his lower torso. He recalled the pain and suffering from that time. The existence of that experience would make a huge impact on the realism of his performance. He was quite confident in his ability to fake an illness. His captors at first took that as a sign he needed to use the washroom. Untying only his arms, they tried to bring him there while he was still blindfolded, but he didn't try to get up. His hands now free, and he clutched at his abdomen as he writhed in agony. Hey, what's wrong? Does your stomach hurt? He still had his earplugs in, so we pretended he didn't hear his captors asking the question. He was about to nod, so he hurriedly had to stop himself. What's the matter? Yeah, the kid's clutching his stomach. Must be a stomachache or something. His captors looked down on his suffering form for a bit. One of them proposed a course of action, while another laid his doubts that Toshiki might be faking it. What's wrong, boy? Tummy hurt? His ears are plugged, so he can't hear you. Well, that's a problem. Do we get any medicine that works on stomach pain? Might want to go to the pharmacy and buy some. When it comes to stomach pain, there's a bunch of different meds, isn't there? As long as we don't know the cause, we shouldn't just buy him any old medicine. He's holding his stomach. Maybe he's just constipated. If we buy him some medicine for that, maybe that'll calm him down. Won't kill him if we're wrong, either. Don't decide something like that on your own. Might be appendicitis or something. My uncle suddenly got it a while ago. That was pretty scary. One of the captors leaned over beside the boy, who was bent over in agony. I feel sorry for the kid. Whoa, his whole body's covered in sweat. Is it your stomach? Does it hurt? Hey, if it hurts, you shouldn't clutch at it so tightly. It'll only make it worse. Realising that his captors were concerned about his stomach, he inadvertently let his shirt right up, letting the scar from his surgery come into plain view. His vision was still obscured with packing tape, so we couldn't see the reaction to his scar, but his captors were taken aback, and judging from the momentary silence, he had obtained the reaction he was looking for. Hey, this is bad. Scar, it's not that old. Does the boy have a fever? Is there a thermometer around? No way we have one, but that's a lot of sweat. His forehead feels pretty hot, I think. I've heard that under prolonged stress, old wounds can be aggravated. Then what do we do? Are you saying the medicine won't work? We don't know what surgery the scar was from, but in any case, this is bad. In the worst case, it could be fatal. This is bad. It's really, really bad. Maybe we should have a doctor take a look at it. At this rate, there's a chance he might suddenly die on us. Toshiki and Yugai, with those 3 words, knew the situation was progressing exactly as he'd envisioned it, and snickered to himself on the inside, pressed his act even further. Didn't even need to see to know that his captors were panicked, and were running around like chickens with their heads cut off at the troublesome turn of events. Should we take him to the clinic? No, that's no good. Probably be better if the doctor came here. Dr. Irie, you mean? Is that okay? Will that be alright? Be worse if anything happened to the hostage. Nothing we can do, it's an emergency. One of the captors hurriedly left in the car. Another of the men, completely shaken up at this point, wiped the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Looked like they were bringing a doctor. As long as the doctor wasn't an accomplice, the doctor was his goal. He was someone he should seek help from. His captors were probably wary of that happening. They'd be prepared for it. This would all come down to luck. Some of the sweat emerging from his brow was from that nervousness. At that moment, the packing tape that was covering his eyes and ears was torn off. The burning light that he was seeing for the first time in several days hurt his eyes. After that, the gag that made it hard for him to breathe was also removed. You alright, kid? I'm bringing a doctor to you right now. Just hold on for a bit. Doctor was coming. The doctor was coming. Now how was he going to ask for help, and how was he going to get away from his captors? A plethora of thoughts began swelling through his mind. I think you know this already, but don't say anything unnecessary to the doctor. We don't want to hurt you or anything. You understand that, right? Toshiki nodded while feigning pain and obedience. His expectations and the enemy's expectation. Whether they doubted he was faking his illness or not, they knew what his goal was and would try and stop it. His stomach contracted from the stress of this gambit, making it seem like his stomach was really starting to hurt. No, it really was. But there was no reason to panic. If he failed with his approach to the doctor, there was nothing to lose. If there was something to lose, it was his method of faking illness to get in touch with the doctor. If he could think of other means from here on out, it wasn't much. But at the present, this was the easiest and most dramatic way he could think of. The more he thought about it, the more it looked like this was his first and last gambit. Eventually, he heard the sound of a car approaching once again. Unfortunately, thanks to Destiny, the phrase gambit has been ruined for me forever. Alas. The sound of the car doors being hurriedly opened and shut, the sounds of several footsteps approaching. A young man in a white medical coat. As he acknowledged the boy, a suspicious look showed itself on his face. Who's he? He's not one of the kids from the village, is he? Captors didn't respond. From the looks of it, the young doctor had realised this was a normal situation. One of the captors talked threateningly. It's got nothing to do with you, Doc. For a while, the doctor and the captor silently glared at one another. However, unable to stand the sight of the boy continuing to suffer, the doctor, as the captors had hoped, didn't press any further. I'm concerned about this old surgical scar. What kind of operation was it? We don't know. Should really bring him back to the clinic. Doc, we really can't do that. Doctor said he wanted to bring the boy back to the clinic, but the captors silently shook their heads at the notion. It was a fleeting hope, but it was only natural that the captors would refuse. At the moment, his eyes met with the doctor's. Seeing that the boy's painful stare was abnormal, the doctor suspected it was a serious illness. Don't get that close up. Okay, you're right. I'm a doctor. When was the surgical scar from? Last year. During the winter. From an accident. An accident? I see. Then this is a problem. Couldn't let the doctor figure out who was faking it here. He had to somehow figure out some way to keep this going and tell the doctor that he was being confined and needed help. I'm going to touch the affected area, okay? If it hurts, tell me where. Seeing that it was extremely painful, the doctor crossed his arms and began to ponder. He had to somehow get himself to a hospital. To Toshiki, faking this illness was the performance of a lifetime. Oh, the anxiety, it's real. It's incredibly real. Boom, boom. Good work, everyone. I know it's hot, but please do your best. If you catch anybody illegally dumping, please contact someone immediately. We'll act quickly. Thank you for cooperation, Mr. Oishi. Please. A gap wide enough for a single cart was opened up in the barricade. Oishi, showing his gratitude, or perhaps threatening attitude, with a short beep from the horn, brought the car forward to a checkpoint. This time, my appearance was the very embodiment of the word suspicious. A baseball cap, mask, and sunglasses. On top of that, even though it was sweltering, I was wearing a hoodie. Any respectable police officer would be loath to not stop me for questioning. I'd meant to be overcautious, knowing full well that my face was known, but it might have already been too late for that to have any use. Using that as an excuse, I doffed the unbearably hot hoodie and windbreaker, ripped off the mask and hat, and threw them in the seat behind me. Oh my, is that okay? With a cheap little disguise like this, they probably figured out it anyways. Haha, just might be the case. Oishi, probably thinking that my unexpected behaviour was funny, continued to laugh. The beautiful and pristine scenery of Hinamizawa spread out before me. The village itself would have been quite beautiful if it weren't for the complicated circumstances surrounding it at the moment. I'd absolutely love to take Yuki here for a drive one day. Come to think of it, I didn't get a chance to call her last night. Played around with the idea in my head, but in reality, this village wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I'd had everything at the prefectural headquarters. The heart of this village, the intelligence network that the three families wielded, was, due to blood ties and regional relationships, unbelievably well organised. Yup! Net spread not just around Hinamizawa itself, but encapsulated the entirety of the city of Shishibone as well. When I first heard that, somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I didn't take it completely seriously. How could a local organisation out in the boonies here have something so grandiose? Probably because it's out in the boonies, TVH. Less people, more ability for those people to band together and hold power, you know? Also, I'm going to do a save real quick. Remember the thing I was trying to do. I couldn't deny that somewhere in the back of my mind I'd ridiculed the thought, but not only were they really threatening the minister, but they demonstrated they had a complete grasp on our movements, which was supposed to be top secret. They were almost like the secret police that controlled a small Eastern European country in some spy novel. Almost, eh? Villagers here wouldn't bat an eye at getting their hands dirty if it meant fighting the town project. I also heard something like that at the prefectural headquarters. Now that you mention it, when I first arrived here, Oishi also said that this place was a war zone, didn't he? Residents of this village were at the time freedom fighters, although by definition they were no different than guerrillas or militia. They weren't protected by the Geneva Convention, but they also didn't have to adhere to those rules either. This place was more of a quagmire than any legitimate battlefield. A secret war was unfolding. I could drive along because Oishi was with me, but if I was to leave this car for even something as trivial as looking for a vending machine, there was a chance I wouldn't return. Even though a single shot hadn't been fired, this was a battlefield. The reason why bullets weren't flying was simply because it was hard for a civilian to obtain a gun in Japan. Good, as it should be. Gun regulation now! So they were probably just equipped with weapons other than guns that were easier to obtain. That was why Oishi was wearing that stab-proof vest, wasn't he? Akasaka, you nervous? The fact that I was apprehensive was, of course, picked up on by Oishi. If you already figured it out, there was no point trying to deny or hide it. Of course I am. We're heading into the heart of the enemy territory alone, aren't we? I'm worried about if something unlikely happens with just the two of us. Something unlikely? Haha. Tell you what's unlikely, the fact that we didn't get our teeth beaten in yesterday. I was absolutely expecting that, full on. Haha. It'll be alright. Isn't everyone in this village our enemy? If everyone gets their story straight, they could murder someone in broad daylight and there wouldn't be a shred of evidence. I'm asking about something like that. That was what the ironclad rule of not barging into a Yakuza office alone was about. If there wasn't a neutral party involved, that area wasn't bounded by the laws of common sense. If something happened, you wouldn't be able to prove it, and there wasn't anyone who would take your side. It was pretty much the definition of poking the bear. I've left word that we're heading towards the Hinamizawa area, and in the worst case, we've also got a radio. I know you're scared, Akasaka, but it's not that easy to pull off the perfect crime. Well, of course that doesn't mean we can let our guard down either. Akasaka, you're too worked up over this. You were more relaxed the last time we came up here together, weren't you? Haha. Laughing off, Oishi thumped his chest and grinned as if to say I could depend on him. If it gets really iffy, haha, this comes with having the badge. Oishi made a motion by sticking out his index finger. It was undoubtedly the image of a gun. Will it be of any use? If you're not afraid of dealing with the aftermath after you shoot, it's actually very reassuring. An officer's gun was only for show. If you really wanted to fire it, there are quite a number of stipulations, and you had to be prepared for a long probationary period afterwards. Definitely wasn't worth it, so even though an officer did unholster his gun, there wasn't one who actually wanted to pull the trigger. Akasaka, are you carrying one? One of these? Well, yeah. You ever fired it? I have, for training though. Well, I guess that'd be true. Ooh, I got my voices mixed up for a second there. Well then, have you, Mr. Oishi? Me? Nah, there's no way. What was this? I thought he was laughing at me because he had experience. Two of us laughed together. I've also never pointed the barrel at anyone. I've looked down the barrel of a gun a few times though. Just being made to look down the barrel like that is enough to shorten your lifespan by about 3 years. Even if you'd never fired a gun before, you couldn't even begin to compare the amount of experience Oishi had it for me. Oh, frames seem to be dropping again, I'm sorry. Always seems to be around this time. I wonder if there's an issue with Virgin. I should probably restart my, my router tonight, I guess. I could only marvel at how reliable Oishi seemed. Come to think of it, I didn't want to come this way in the middle of the day, but there's no way to get for a car to get through other than here. Akasaka, just in case, put on the mask again to hide your face, please. What's the matter? Can you not hear it because the air conditioning is too loud? I'll turn it off. Try opening the window. When I opened the window, a blast of hot air blew inside. Then I could hear angry yelling coming from far away. That moment, the forest gave way on either side of us, and our view expanded suddenly. And there could be seen the Hinamizawa Dam construction grounds. The very front line for Hinamizawa village. Whoa! The noise made me jump. We're absolutely opposed to the construction of the Hinamizawa Dam. The crackling blare of someone's voice sounded over an enormous loudspeaker. The roar of angry voices continued to rumble. The incredible volume had become a veritable sound cannon, spewing out its ammunition. The prefabricated site office was surrounded by two sets of high fences laced with barbed wire. Lined up in front of those fences were riot police and their vehicles, and surrounding it all were the villagers. They held out their protests against the dam as a single entity. Oh, there's not too many of them today. We're in luck. That's not too many? Yeah, when there's lots of them, the crowd reaches as far as the road. You wouldn't even be able to inch forward in a car. At first, due to the overwhelming intensity, it looked to me like there was more people here than there actually was, but upon closer inspection, there were at most 50 to 70 of them. For me, as a person, that's too many. But the 6 or 7 propaganda trucks lined up that looked like they belonged to a band of thugs were a strange enough sight. The villagers were also wearing helmets and bandanas, as well as covering their faces with masks, adding to the oddity of it all. The propaganda trucks, after braying their chorus, had the volume turned up even higher and began to flood the area with sutras. To say that the noise was downright violent wouldn't be an understatement. From this distance it was still loud. The glass in the office was probably rattling from the noise. They can't do anything there but take it. Those riot squad guys, every one of them is wearing earplugs, but they're still having their hearing damaged. Poor sobs. Can't you do something about it with noise ordinance laws? The prefecture doesn't have any laws regarding noise ordinance. Also, there's the sutras, right? We can't regulate religious activities. Those guys are pretty smart. Haha. That's what I think, Oishi said. Actually, no matter how tightly the window was shut, the booming sound of the sutras still filled the car. Could even hear what Oishi, who was sitting right next to me, was saying. As the car approached the line to propaganda trucks, the blare became difficult to bear. It wasn't enough to just plug my ears with my fingers. I had to hold my head to keep my skull from splitting apart. Hey, if it works, you know? If I'd seen this terrifying energy sooner, I would have probably understood what Hinamizawa village was much quicker. Now I knew. They wouldn't blink an eye at sacrificing themselves in order to protect their hometown. It's so goddamn noisy. Shut up, shut up, shut up. My head throbbed and felt like it was going to split apart. My eardrums crackled, and on top of it all, I felt like I was going to throw up. And fun fact, police people in America are using similar weapons against the protesters there. I have no doubt that they're probably using it here, or they would if they could get away with it. I know Nottingham has no sanctioned protests by BLM, but there is an unsanctioned protest on Saturday, and I'm trying to decide if the fact that it's unsanctioned makes it worth going to, especially seeing as I'm going by myself. Because I don't know anyone else who would go. I'll have to fuck about on Facebook a bit. With the road crowded with a throng of squatters, the propaganda trucks and the riot police vehicles, it was in no way easy to get by. Even if you tried to shoot the squatters with a car horn, they were also wearing earplugs, oblivious to noises from the outside world that wouldn't easily move. The car could only inch forward at a snail's pace. Even then, the car eventually got through, starting to leave the tumultuous noise behind. Hey, the old guy that was playing Mahjong with us last night? Remember him? I remember there was an older person who didn't exactly mince words. The guy that Oishi called Old Man. There was someone like that. You see, he's the foreman of the main construction site. He's probably holed up in that prefab building, trying to work while irritated out of his mind. Poor fella. He wouldn't be able to stand it if it's like that every day. Yeah, it's no end to the number of people who can't handle it and quit. But every time that happens, the wages go up, so I won't say it's in vain. Even after having to deal with all that noise and hostility, they still made a wage that Oishi found in it enviable. Damn these guys. Can they hear or can't they? A group of squatters were on the way of the car. Oishi, sufficiently annoyed, laid into the horn, but there was no indication they were moving anytime soon. In this din, could they not even hear a car horn? Did they hear it, and were they being malicious? Were there any riot police nearby? They would have made people move, but it just so happened there weren't anyone near here. Ha, jeez. Wait just a minute. Oishi opened up the door. The hot air and even more heated roar of the crowd spilled into the car. Gah! Oishi said something as he grinned widely, but I couldn't hear what it was. He was getting them to move. Something like that? Oishi stepped out of the car and closed the door. The din faded slightly. I stared blankly as Oishi headed towards the group and started some sort of conversation. Maybe you'd find the minister's grandson at Takatsudo. At the very least, I wanted to find him there. Find him and slip the cursed bonds of this incomprehensible village. I could only pray. At that moment, a shadow was suddenly cast over me. Somebody was standing right outside the passenger side window, blocking the sunlight. I spun around, looked up, and realised who the backlit figure was. Huh. It was a girl. It was Rika Furude. The girl stared down at me with a bored look in her eyes. I didn't have any justification for it, but I felt like I'd been found by somebody I shouldn't be found by. To fill the silence, I raised my hand as I mouthed the meek greeting. Of course, there was no way she heard my small voice in this clamour, but even then she should have seen who gave my hand in greeting. In spite of that, she simply stared down at me with a cold look on her face. At that moment, the noise and heat spread throughout the car once again. Oishi had returned to the driver's seat. Taking a look, the group that were blocking the road had started to move aside while glaring our way. Sorry to keep you waiting. Shall we go? Oishi pointed to the figure of the girl behind me. One of the villagers came over and picked her up. In a manner of, it's dangerous, so get away. It was then that she whispered one or two words, however, I couldn't hear any of it. Well then, let's go. I'm going to gun it, okay? But of course, still within the speed limit. As if to shake off the still audible angry voices, Oishi floored the gas. Along with the roar and the din and the shouting, the villagers and the girl quickly disappeared behind us. As soon as we're through here, we're in Takatsudo. You okay if we end up getting into a firefight? Don't be fumbling with the safety at the last moment, you hear? Oishi laughed mockingly again. I was more concerned with what the girl had said, however, as I was vaguely bothered by it. What was she trying to say with that apathetic and candid expression? I suppose it's normal if you're nervous from here on out, but if you don't deal with it, there's a chance you might do something rash. But there was no longer a way to confirm what the girl had tried to tell me. It might have been that the girl who wanted me to go back to Tokyo again, or else, was saying to me who was here now, ignoring that warning. Even though I warned you. What a fool. I had the feeling she'd said something like that. Shocked cat. Rika, you're so adorable and little, but you can still be terrifying sometimes. If you were to call Hinamizawa a rather lonely village, then Takatsudo was outright desolate. For your everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anyone would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating that it was all abandoned. People really lived in a place like this, didn't they? Well, it was a long time ago. A remote place like this is pretty rough for old folk to live, and the younger people probably want to try living in a more suitable place. That keeps happening. I mentioned this in the last stream, but it keeps happening with the smaller towns in Japan where they're dying out because the young people move to the city, and so the old people are the ones that have left in the towns. And then, in order to look after them, it's easier to get, your parents to move in with you than it is to move back in with your parents to care for them. And so the villagers die out. It's really depressing. Just in case you somehow weren't aware. If there's nobody left to take the reins, all that gets left is this. Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. It seemed that Oishi also felt the same way. Was the wallet found over here? The person who found it must have had a good reason to come out to this desolate place. Yeah, there's some villagers who have a fill out in the mountains here. They pass by here in the morning and evenings. Villagers who work in the fields walk by here every day? No way. They probably go as far as they can by car. So in the early mornings and evenings, they passed by here and just happened to find a single wallet? Probably did. Haha. Where exactly did they say they found it? In a thicket just a bit further ahead. The person who found the wallet just happened to have some stomach cramps and was planning to do his business. It was there he happened to find it, probably hoping there was some toilet paper in there. Everything about that story just seems a little too convenient. Right from the discovery of the wallet, I just can't shake the feeling that something's off. I expressed a feeling that I had from the start of the day, quite frankly. It seemed too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. But it was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling. I might actually be onto something by saying it's all a little too perfect. Meaning? Truth is, I heard a little something from a friend of mine in 4th Division, where Oyo Sonozaki referenced the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. She referenced it? It's been several days since the minister's grandson's been kidnapped, poor boy. It'd be nice if they let him go soon. It seemed like old Oyo muttered something like that while on her veranda. And that little musing was conveyed to the various people working deep behind the scenes of the Sonozaki family. Right, I'd heard something earlier from Sato, the informant, that when the leader Oreo had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate. So in essence, she gave the order to release a hostage? I see it that way. The wallet being conveniently discovered was just deployed to hand the boy over to the police. Why would they release the hostage? Haha, there's only one reason why somebody would release the hostage, isn't there? Which is, they reached a deal. That would mean the minister promised to halt the dam project. Or I guess that he didn't. They released the boy and that's why he gets murdered as a... The dam project will definitely go away. At that moment, those words that the girl had said resurfaced in the back of my mind. In the end, it was turning out exactly as she proclaimed. That young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about this kidnapping incident, from the beginning to the end. Akasaka. The girl unexpectedly called my name. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? Before long, you'll woefully regret coming to this village. That'd be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. When you tried crossing the road when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? Pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl who knew everything from start to finish had warned me in the beginning. Go back to Tokyo. Akasaka's such a coward. She can be really creepy for an adorable little girl. We'll probably find the boy, but what happens afterwards will probably be a bit of a problem. How it will be a problem that was something a single officer like me can't figure out. Do you know a girl named Rika Furude? What I'd said was such a non sequitur that I wish she sat in the sun silent for a while. Of course I know her. She's the only daughter of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. What kind of girl is she? Well, this is an unexpected name to hear. I'm a bit surprised. Does public safety think that the Furude family smells fishy and wants to keep an eye on them? Share some of that information with me, please. It's not like that. It's just something that caught my attention. Haha, well, whatever. Wouldn't do not to answer a question from a friend I sat at the same table with. I'm honoured that you call me a friend. It's that little lady as well, somewhat of a village mascot. She's beloved by everybody in the village. Some of the older folk worship her especially. Worship? I don't know much about it, you see. Girls born in the Furude family have somewhat of a sacred implication, it seems. It's one of the local beliefs in Hinamizawa. Seems that way in both Furude and Sonozaki families. Just saying. Pardon me. The living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, or something like it, or so the story goes, apparently. Oyashiro-sama? Now that you mention it, I think I saw Oyashiro-sama written on some of the Alliance's banners. What is Oyashiro-sama exactly? It's the name of the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. They believe it'll exact punishment on those who would do ill towards the village. If there was such a convenient god around, the guys at the dam would have long since been done in by divine justice. Luckily, nothing like that has happened to anybody just yet. Grandson of the minister who travelled with the village as a result of Oyashiro-sama's anger was, well, what did they call it again? Oh right, Onikakushi. The minister's grandson was demoned away. Probably be how the script is being written. Haha. I see. Probably would turn into something like that. Divine punishment wrought by Oyashiro-sama. Then the culprit is the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That girl? Haha. Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying. The fact that Oishi laughed it off was... Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying, and the fact that Oishi laughed it off was a bit of a relief. Oishi's joyous laughter was so infectious that I began to laugh like an idiot as well. Well, she certainly is creepy. Oh, this is unusual. Oishi, after laying into the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. There was a car headed the opposite way. Until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. And of all places with this desolate location, it seemed that Oishi knew the owner of the car. The other car also chirped its horn and came to a stop. Dr. Irie, good afternoon. The other car's windows rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white overcoat, who's about my age or perhaps a bit older, but you really can't judge someone by their appearance. Why, it isn't Mr. Oishi. Good afternoon. Haha, fancy meeting you here. That's my line, Doctor. I never thought I'd see you here. What happened? Nothing, just a little house call. Oh, really? Was it an emergency? Nothing quite that serious, thankfully. It's always for the best when the patient gets better without the need of medical care. Taking my leave here. If I don't get back quickly, my staff will be angry with me. Haha, being the head of a clinic must be tough. Well then, take care. What on earth? The young doctor named Irie, after gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and soon disappeared around a corner. Oishi also drove forwards, but soon came to a stop again. He pulled out a worn map book from the dash. His expression didn't have an ounce of reverence. He was perfectly serious. What is it? Clinic shouldn't be making any house calls today. Must have been quite an emergency, or otherwise a patient with some extenuating circumstances. Oishi flipped through the pages, opening up to a map of Takatsudo. After that, he took a look around and started to figure out what our current location was. Are you saying that emergency is suspicious? Didn't I say? There's hardly anyone that lives in Takatsudo area. Road run right now is here. Dr. Irie came from this direction. Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating on the map. We're heading towards the spot where the wallet was found. By the way, that's over here. But see? If you're heading to one of the few residences in Takatsudo, it's the wrong road. Meaning Dr. Irie came from a direction where there are no residents? As long as somebody working in the fields between these mountains didn't collapse. But if somebody collapses and you call a doctor, normally you bring them back with you for a more detailed examination. But just now, Dr. Urie said it was nothing serious, and it didn't seem like anyone else was in the car with him. I wish he didn't say any more than that. I also said nothing more. The doctor just now examined a patient, close by. Only that. The noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky just as suddenly turned an oppressive colour. Mitsubishi mused that it might start to rain. A torrential downpour started, as though trying not to disappoint him. Eventually, Oishi stopped the car. The only sounds to break the silence were the percussion of the rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers. Let's do the Dibish hush-hush, shall we? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful not to make any noise. Oishi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and the car that was parked beside it. The car looked obviously well cared for. It wasn't a vehicle that had been left there for several years. What's that shed? It contains equipment used by the forestry service. I heard that they don't go near it except during summertime. Does that car belong to someone from the forestry service then? Dunno. It doesn't look like an official vehicle though. I wish he was playing it cool, but my nervousness was gradually increasing. Just in case. Saying that, Oishi returned to the car. I thought he was going to get an umbrella, but he'd grabbed the onboard radio instead. Hello, this is Oishi. Do you read? Greetings, greetings. Yes, this is the Okonomiya police station. Mr. Oishi, we read you loud and clear, over. Currently in front of the forestry service's equipment shed. Not the one in the direction of Higuchi, the one in Takatsudo, if you head here from Hinamizawa. Affirmative, copy that. There's some suspicious people in the shed. Proceeding to investigate. If you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, get in touch with the local police substation and have them send a cruiser as soon as possible. If you would, please. Understood. Well then, should we go take a look? Since he was first confined here, he'd heard the sound of a car multiple times, so he just thought the far-off sound was more of the same. However, the reaction from his captors was, until now, something he hadn't seen before. They jumped, reacting as shocked by a bolt of electricity, then pressed against the window, cautiously peering outside. They stopped. Somebody from the forestry service? This is bad. Nah, looks like a cop to me. One of the captors lifted the boy by his collar and pressed a blade against his cheek. Hey kid, keep quiet for a bit. Think you know this, but if you try and shout, there'll be problems. Toshiki Inugai was sure that the doctor had reported things to the police. He had felt relief when he thought you were saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence when you conquered. Imagining that his captors would resort to violence when they were cornered, his anxiety remained unabated. What do we do? Gotta buy time. Take the kid and slip out the back. We'll meet back here when the heat's off. When the perpetrators grabbed the boy by his collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki Inuga tried to resist by feigning that his illness had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but his captors paid no heed. Bang, bang, bang. Door was violently banged upon. Excuse me, hello? The door was banged upon again. Toshiki Inuga hesitated for a moment to respond to that voice by yelling. While he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking that option away from him. The leader of the captors waved at the other to go. The younger perpetrator nodded in response, and while keeping the boy's mouth covered, started heading towards the back door. Hello, do you need something? How do you do? This is the police. Would you mind opening the door? This sudden rain has us in a bit of trouble. I'll just The moment the knock was undone, Oishi forced the door open, and with a gleam of menace in his eye, he pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. Then, in the small empty room, he was quickly able to discern that the boy he was looking for was nowhere to be seen. I heard this was an equipment shed for the forestry service, but there's nothing here at all. There was nothing inside the room that would indicate this was an equipment shed. There was only a mountain of blankets, indicating that somebody was sleeping here, alongside empty food packets strewn about. It's been empty for some time now. Never seen no equipment stored around here. But this is the forestry service's building, isn't it? You from the forestry service? How about you? Police? The two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Uishi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal their identity before the other did. The man, judging from the sharp look in Oishi's eyes, realised that it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. No matter what he said, the most time he could buy would probably be only a few dozen seconds. Only the sound of rain filled this tense moment. Just then they heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Oishi had a hunch. There was no doubt that Akasaka, who was circling around the back, had run into the perpetrators who were trying to slip away. As Oishi thought that, the man in front of him reacted a moment faster. The man swung with an attack that was more intended to obscure Oishi's vision than actually hit him in the face. Seizing this opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Oishi's groin without any hesitation, but he missed his mark and was unable to land the critical blow. The man, trying to pin Oishi, grabbed him by the base of his neck with both hands and fiercely tried to push him down. But as Oishi fell backwards as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum, the man was slung by the falling Oishi as if in a circle throw. The two of them squared off in the pouring rain. Isn't this interesting? You want to go? Haha. Oishi, as if trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He then stood up while brushing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Oishi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man he threw, who swiftly sprang to his feet. "Oishi-san, hurry!" Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Judging from the distress in his voice, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Oishi to reconvene with him, but Oishi's hands were full as well. "Akasaka, sorry, but can you wait a bit?" The man raised both fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or some other form of martial art. Of course, Oishi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights before. Man like that? Of course he has. Because of that, he could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Ah, damn it. Thinking that this was going to be easy just because the order came from the Sonozaki family to release a hostage had been a big mistake. It's pretty good. It's been a while since I got this whooped up. I wish he played off the situation like it was no sweat. His opponent, seeing his attitude, took that to mean Oishi wasn't going to go down easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempting to grab Oishi. If the man managed a successful clinch from his low stance, Oishi would be tackled to the ground and ended up being mounted. It was something so often when children fought, but it was a really bad position, since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Oishi, responding to that move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head-on. The moment they clashed, Oishi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. It was a move from Oishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed on with his free hand and attempted to throw his opponent with both hands. I find it really... I used to write fan fiction and also non-fan fiction, and I always found it really difficult to write fight scenes. A bit of a pain. But the man lowered his central gravity and swung his arms in a large arc, entwining them with Oishi's. Not only that, but he had forced both of Oishi's elbows to the outside, and Oishi, now in an awkward position, was in danger of exposing his back with his hands still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido or grappling, didn't he? Oishi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over. And to top it off, at zero range. The man was able to read Oishi's movements completely as he tried to squirm his way into a better position, and then took the palms of his hands and swiftly clapped them over both of Oishi's ears. Clapping ears in any other martial art, except for self-defense, was basically forbidden. Karate and judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. It was that much of a simple and dangerous attack. Oishi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears. But before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Oishi's neck. His thick biceps clinched firmly around the base of Oishi's neck like a vice. Oishi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe that a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He'd chosen to keep his hold and force Oishi to lose consciousness. That's why Oishi at that moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponents had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. Even though that might be the case, the man's hold on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Oishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo during his student days, Oishi was utterly resigned to the fact that it was over. Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He'd bumped into the captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He'd seen Toshiki Inuga's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain if the boy in front of him was the real deal, with his mouth covered in packing tape. Also, with his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook this momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot, with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed, but upon hearing Oishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going in that direction, then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Oishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option, but he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through the short thicket, branches and falling leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed at him, small lions inscribing themselves on his body one after another. He kept on stepping into puddles and mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, travelling through this unexplored forest was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. It's also a good place to get murdered, this place is. Stop! This is the police! As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as it was but a waste of breath. There wasn't a thief in the world that would politely stop when told to by the police. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task, but it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realising that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him, running in the same conditions, Heck, the man running with an awkward stride was at far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon his wish was fulfilled. Whoa! The man who stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy, dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all, just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Inugai. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. But it seemed that Toshiki Inugai was important to the man as well, and didn't choose to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should probably be to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on, but most likely it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of indecision proved to be fatal. Man aiming wiped Shrina while the full both of Akasaka's eyes struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his arms to shield his face, and the moment the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. Pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body, but he latched onto his opponent's leg. His opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with a seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances would he letting that leg go. Two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position, was unable to. Two of them rolled around to that floor, floundering about trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka, who was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two different situations. The man gained a positional advantage to Akasaka, who still latched onto his leg and couldn't move away, and pounded full force on his head with both fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Oof. Fuck. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head, but if he let go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, then it was goodbye to this freakish village. Pam! Without looking, I could tell my forehead was split open and was gushing blood. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I wouldn't let go. When the man realised that no matter how much he beat my head, he wasn't getting away, he used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush a windpipe. Pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was no use. Man's head enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as that it was choking so hard it felt like I was going to throw up. It felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, but I could only endure it. Damn it. My throat hurts. I won't let go. I can't let go. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Go back to Tokyo and talk to Yuki all about our unborn child. We were going to talk about our bright future. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit and the man's leg came free. The man kicked out as hard as possible and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning and I was unable to get up right away. No, I couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, this chance would never come again. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock and just beat me over the head with. Now it's my turn. Yeah. Rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough power to my attack. Pardon me. Ugh. Reading these out always fucks my voice up. Pardon me. My fist, still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. It seemed like it hurt him quite a bit. Oh, gah. Man rolled around for a bit, clutching the side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. Toshiki, a new guy, right? I've come to help you. To the boy, those were the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That's because even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and taken a fighting stance. I could see in the man's eyes the resentment the pain had caused him, and the confidence that he could still beat me. If I were to clash head on again, he might not even stop if my head was split open. Stop resisting. Surrender quietly. You should just hand the boy over. Do you want me to snap your neck? Who would listen to you now? Reinforcements are already on their way. There's nowhere for you to run. The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That was because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just a waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realising that the man shifted mental gears almost too quickly. Then let's finish this fast. How about this? Ha! Well, the man pulled from his back pocket was, of all things, a gun. Of course I'm a police officer. Not like I don't know what a gun is, but having one pointed at me was something I'd never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There's no way it'd be a replica in a situation like this. Put both your hands behind your back and lay down quietly. Don't get cocky, you villain. Won't do anything you say. Stupid idiot. Do you not know what this is without me shooting you with it? Then shoot. Reinforcements will hear a gunshot and head right over here. You're stupid. We're in the middle of the forest and on top of that it's raining. They'll never hear a thing. As long as he still held that gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. Pardon me. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him and take the boy. That way was the fastest and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot. Meaning that he either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I got by even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. I wish he was probably on his way, and the reinforcements we called for before coming here should already be well on the way too. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that. Damn it! Do I have to put a bullet in you to understand how dangerous this thing is? There's no escape. Don't add to your crimes. That moment I heard the rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. I thought she was coming here, it was a whole new ball game. Man couldn't have had more than one gun. Oh, is she? Over here, over here. Huh? I thought the time was on my side, but I'd failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. I could tell the man who just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him. What are you doing? If you don't hurry up, the police will get here. Stop lollygagging. Damn it. What happened to Oishi? Ah, that chubby fella? He's down for the count. He is? Damn it. Boy, sensitive to the impending danger, curled up behind my back. How could this be? Damn it. Your buddy isn't coming. Serves you right. Shoes on the other foot now. As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun. Won't be saying this twice. Put your hands on your head and lie down. Refuse. Bang. As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register that I'd been shot. Compared to the ones from movies and dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. It was a fear you knew it only after you'd been shot. Sir, are you okay? Are you okay? Boy in his confusion tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect. I'm alright. I've already called for backup. There'll be a full squad here soon. It'd be quicker to put one through your head before the cops get here. The family said no needless killing, so I'm taking it easy on you. Don't mess with me or I ain't holding back. This was bad. It was very, very bad. Second man was a completely different beast than the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot, he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody that a command like me could buy time from. I hated to admit it, but at that moment, the image of Yukio's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself not to throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life with Yukio, and I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life as some minister's grandson when I was at a critical juncture in my own life? Damn it, damn it. I need to stop rambling at myself. So what do I do now? Give up the way and extend my own life? What a good idea. Everybody's life is precious. My own life is in danger. Nobody would blame me. Damn it, hurts. If I'd known it'd be this painful, I wouldn't have played the tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I'd imagined. If it was only that loud, it'd be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear. I'm glad that it clearly marks out what the right one to do is. I'll play this at some point on my own time without that and choose the bad options. Damn it. Wait, just wait. I don't want to die. Ugh, and I don't want to kill you, as long as you understand. Don't shoot, okay? Don't shoot. I have a wife waiting for me at home. I don't want to die. I won't shoot as long as you don't yell or nothing. Just quietly put your hands on your head and lie down. Will you really? Will you really? You'll keep your promise, right? This is a promise between men. I will. It's a promise between men. Keep your promise. Keep it. I'm gonna get down on the ground, okay? I'm getting down. I'll keep my promise, so stop pointing that gun at me. You're still thinking of shooting me, aren't you? You want to shoot me, don't you? When I get down on the ground, you're just gonna shoot me in the back of the head, aren't you? I won't. Fine. I'll put it away. I'll put the gun away. It's a promise between men. There. No problem now, right? Yeah, absolutely no complaints. It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Oishi didn't let his chance slip by. Oishi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men, but since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Oishi's face indicating that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. Oishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Oishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. If that man was the one that was wrestling with Oishi at the moment, he might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Oishi kicked the other man away, and while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With the guns akimbo, he was aiming for both men at the same time. I do believe that's checkmate. It was perfectly played, but heedless of the guns pointed at me, and pointed at them, the men shouted "Scram!" as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Oishi, quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pockets. Surefire way to shoot your junk off. Those guys know their stuff. What do you mean? An officer won't fire at somebody who's fleeing. I want to keep my pension here. Oishi and I grinned at each other. Are you Toshiki Inugai, grandson of the Minister of Construction Inugai? Yes. This is going to be a major incident. Probably only cut the tail off the lizard, though. Oishi smiled amusedly. The fact that the ODA, or rather the Sonozaki family behind him, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. With apologies to Oishi, this incident was unlikely to go public. If it caused an uproar, it would obviously lead to the minister losing his office. With HQ having declared that doing so was in the national interest, this would probably be cleaned up quietly. Might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows and was going to die in the shadows. Oishi probably already understood the implication behind this incident. For the time being, let's cordon off the area, since it seems that one of them still has a gun. After that, let's get Inugai to safety and get you to a hospital. As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realised that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. And this, folks, is why guns are bad. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound, without a doubt. There would probably be an investigation on the men who ran, but that was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we'd cleared the major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. As soon as I recognised that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by a power failure. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Oishi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something soft and a blanket wrapped around me. Well. Wheel, huh? Patrons admitted the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. That's why she wouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday she had teased him that he got lonely easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. That was much easier to imagine, rather than that he might just be too busy to call. Because he's just that type of person. Yuki, whispering that, smiled to herself. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital intercom, along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her. Probably eager for its mother to be discharged, their small child was wearing a beaming smile. That child's mother was pregnant in bed next to mine with what may be their new brother or sister. Probably ready to burst with expectations, dreams, and the worries of having a new sibling. Joys of a growing family. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. I talked to him about how many children we wanted to have. Talked about how if we had 3, it would certainly be lively. There was the inescapable worry of whether I'd be able to handle giving birth that many times. There isn't a mother out there who'd hate to give birth because of that worry, though. Yuki, smiling as she said that to herself, gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division, placed where that man's sense of justice had led him. The person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. He didn't talk much about the specifics, but she didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But as long as he said he was going to try his best, she would watch over him warmly. Father, you see, is a very hard worker, you know? Yuki seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. That moment, Yuki suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time, long ago. She remembered that when she was little, around this time in the countryside where grandmother lived, the Higurashi would fill the air with their chorus. This was the middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of the Higurashi, but for some reason at that moment, Yuki felt that she wanted to hear that song. Oi, 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 oi. Right. Trying to decide if I want to... continue into chapter 5. I might just start it. You know? It'll be a while before we find an endpoint. Let's just start it and see. This was my first time losing consciousness. You often hear of regaining consciousness on top of a bed, but this was my first time actually experiencing it. Hello? Are you okay? Realizing that I was awake, a young doctor called out to me. I didn't intend to respond, but it seems my body language had told them I was conscious. My head was wrapped in bandages. Scratches all over my body had also been treated. My sense of pain also returned with my consciousness, causing me to grind from the intense pain shooting all through me. Don't try to get up. Just stay lying down, please. Seems that you took quite a few blows to the head. I want you to stay rested so we can monitor your condition for at least the next 24 hours. Where is this? This is my clinic. Pleased to meet you. My name is Irie. I remember that this young doctor was the one in the car headed the opposite way earlier. Is there somebody here? Where's Mr. Oishi? I'll call him over. There's no smoking inside the clinic, so I had him smoke outside. Dr. Irie left the room to go call Oishi. The scenery outside the window was tinted with gold. The pouring rain had stopped, with the voices of the Higurashi heralding the cooling temperature. I felt that the tone of the Higurashi's voices was comforting. Eventually I could hear heavy footsteps coming closer, which I reckoned to be Oishi's. The fog that was enveloping my head slowly faded back to reality. What had happened since then? What had happened to the boy? What about the reinforcements from Tokyo? The door to the room flew open, allowing Dr. Irie and Oishi to enter. So there's no serious damage, is there? I can't promise that. I assessed the wound to his head was dangerous from the moment I saw it. Got it. I want to have a little chat alone with him for a bit. Would you mind? Yeah, go ahead. Call me if anything happens. Oishi, after basically forcing Dr. Irie outside, shut the door. How are you feeling? I did something I'm not used to, so I'm pretty banged up all over. Oishi brought over a folding chair that was leaning against the wall and sat down beside the bed. Were the perpetrators arrested? Unfortunately, no. They probably already fled the prefecture or are being hidden by the villagers. Well, we won't let them get away. What about the minister's grandson? Taking care of him at the station, but your colleagues from Tokyo are rather insistent that nothing can be recorded. Shige doesn't like that too much. Kidnapping was a confidential matter, so his custody was probably also being kept under wraps. How the kidnapping of the minister's grandson would be handled, how it would be covered up, treated like it never happened, would be handled by the brass. This case ended without the nation going to uproar about it. Our job had been done. Possibility that the minister negotiated with the perpetrators couldn't be ruled out, but something like that was no longer my concern. My role in this case was over. Sorry for the trouble. You must think that public safety is a rather unseemly place, don't you? No, we all work on the government's dime. Oishi laughed boisterously. When we first met, I was somewhat prejudiced against Oishi, but now that feeling was gone completely. It'd be more convenient for us if this case was handled properly instead of being hidden away. That happened to be able to have something to go at the Sanozaki family with, since they were behind it all. Well, if we just start poking around, we'll get all sorts of pressure put on us, though. What a mess. You're going to continue the fight against the Sanozaki family after this? Nah. There's all sorts of dark rumours swirling around them, but it's not like I have a personal grudge. Be wise not to step on any toes here. Haha. Oishi laughed happily, and I couldn't help but laugh along. Oh, that's right. There was word at the station from prefectural police. Your colleagues arrived at Nagoya and are driving up here now. You got your battle scars, so you're being recalled to Tokyo, apparently. That's how it's shaking up. Good job. Your work in Okonomiya is safely over. Was being recalled to Tokyo. I inadvertently breathed a sigh of relief when I heard those words. I'm deeply thankful for your cooperation, Oishi. Seems the collaboration fee I paid you didn't go to waste. Haha. I kinda meant that as a joke, though. Oishi took out his wallet, casually pulled out several large bills and jammed them into the breast pocket of my shirt. This isn't a refund of the collaboration fee, you hear? This is just me gifting you a little spending money. Booze around here is pretty good. Use this to buy yourself a little souvenir. Oishi flashed me a grin. If your interviews turn out to be not too serious, call me before you head back to Tokyo, will you? The old man and Sato said they'd like to sit at a table with you again. Oh my, can't refuse that. No tricks this time, just some plain old fun. They always say that. This world is done for if an active officer can cheat that blatantly. Haha, it's not often that we meet somebody who's more than a match for us. Too bad you're going back to Tokyo. When I heard the words going back from Tokyo from Oishi, I was reminded once again that I was relieved from my duties. Soon Yukie would be giving birth. Might still be possible to attend the delivery that I had one time given up on. When I thought that, the pain from my injuries became trivial. I wanted to hurry back to Tokyo and see Yukie at once. Can you pretend that your injuries are a bit more serious and hang around Okonomiya for a bit? I can introduce you to a few nice places. Of course I won't make you pay for everything. Haha. Terribly sorry, but I'll have to take a rain check on that. My wife is due to give birth any day now. I want to hurry back home. Oh my. Didn't know that. Then you shouldn't be hanging out around here. You have to hurry back home. For a while after that, I wish she asked all sorts of questions about my life, teasing and bantering with me. Well then, how do you feel? Think you can get up? Yeah, it's not too bad, thanks to you. I can get up and walk no problem. I stood up and shuffled around for a bit, which seemed to amuse Oishi. Bitch. Oh, you also got shot, don't forget. I just thought you might not feel comfortable at a hospital in Hinamizawa. Dr. Irie said he wanted you to stay overnight. But we still haven't caught the perpetrators. For the time being, this is the enemy territory for you after all. You're saying this hospital isn't safe? Well, Dr. Irie is somebody who's well regarded in the community. I don't think anything will happen to you while you're here, but I'm more worried about your mental health. I'd relaxed a bit now that things had progressed this far, but it was exactly as Oishi had said. When I realised that this was enemy territory, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. With the only thing left for me to do was leaving, the chance that I'd come to harm was logically fairly low. But that didn't mean I was completely safe. That's right, if I'm just going to be lying down, then doing it in a hotel bed won't be that different. Right. I also think that's for the best. At that moment, I caught a glimpse of the clock over Rishi's shoulder. It was the evening. The hours when I could call Yuki at the hospital were almost over. I wanted to tell her as quickly as possible that I'd be back at her side. I want to call Yuki at the hospital. Is there a public phone in the lobby? You newlyweds are all like this. If I recall correctly, there's one by the register. I'll be waiting here, so go ahead. Oishi, laughing while saying that he was jealous, opened up the window and pulled out a cigarette, even though he was in a hospital room. Appreciative of how considerate Oishi was, I set out to the lobby to find the phone. The lobby was just a short distance down the hallway from the hospital room. I thought that this hospital was a bit too grand for a village like this, but of course it was nothing compared to the general hospital UK was admitted to. Running inside a hospital wasn't the best of manners, but calling hours would soon end, so I dashed over in a hurry. There was nobody else in the lobby. Maybe in the evening, but there was nobody at the reception desk. This might actually be lucky for me. I wasn't planning to have a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to have someone listening to the conversation between me and Yukie. Taking a quick look around, I soon found the payphone. Digging around in my pockets, I grabbed a few coins. I was calling Tokyo from here, so I'd run through this amount fairly quickly. Picked up the receiver and inserted a coin, then dialed the number for UK's hospital, which I'd memorised at this point. Number for UK's hospital had a lot of 8s and 9s, so dialing it inevitably took some time. Normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but currently any time was precious. However, I felt that something was strange as I was dialing the number. Don't know exactly how to put it, but it was as if the receiver was too quiet. That unique quiet noise from the telephone line wasn't there. Huh? Somehow I felt that I wasn't getting any feedback from the phone, and without feeling a response, I hung up the receiver to try again. The coin popped out from the return slot. I reinserted the coin and began dialing once again, but the receiver was still dead silent. What is this? Is it disconnected? I was wasting time like this. The amount I had to spend with UK shrunk. I began to feel needlessly impatient. Excuse me. I felt the presence of someone on the other side of the glass, so I called out. There was an immediate response, and a man who seemed like a pharmacist came over. Yes, how can I help you? Pardon me, this phone seems to be acting a little strange. Could you take a look at it? The man came over and tried testing various things with the receiver pressed to his ear. Come to think of it, this is someone who worked at the hospital, not someone from the phone company. Just as I didn't know much about phones, neither would he. Huh? What's this? The man held up the cord that connected the phone to the wall. It was completely severed. The heck is that? This is a dilly of a pickle. Can't do anything with this until somebody from the phone company comes and fixes it. Looking for a phone, do you want to use the one in the office? I didn't want the people in the hospital office around when I was talking. Is there another payphone close by? See, if you leave here and follow the road, you'll come out into the shopping district. I think there's a smoke shop on the corner around there. If you head that way, you should be able to find one soon enough. I was dressed in a hospital gown. I was wearing sandals on my feet. My head was wrapped up in bandages. Just looking at me, you could tell I was a hospital patient. No matter how you looked at it, I was not dressed to be wandering outside. But that's where the impetuousness of youth came in. Choosing the chance to talk to UK for even a little bit longer, I headed outside at my current state. Follow the road to the shopping district. Should be able to find one soon enough. With only those 2 lines as my guide, I ran outside the gates of the hospital. With the village nestled in a valley, when the sun set, it got dark quickly. Sparse streetlights lit up enough to start attracting moths. The Higurashi, knowing the time for their chorus as soon as it closed, redoubled their fragile cries. Finding the payphone wasn't as easy as the person at the hospital had suggested. Was it still up ahead? Did I miss it already? Was I just getting farther away? Just as I was about to be crushed by a wave of uncertainty towering over me, I found a shop on the corner with cigarettes written on a small sign. My joy spurred me onwards. Just as I'd heard at the hospital, set next to the counter of the cigarette shop was an antiquated payphone. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. Probably didn't have much left, though. But it was enough. Just as long as I could tell UK my job was done and I'd be coming home soon. Picking up the receiver, I slid a coin down the slot, but I felt that something was strange, just like at the hospital. Even after inserting the coin, the phone showed no response. Hung up the receiver and tried putting in the coin one more time. There was absolutely no response. The phone was dead. Couldn't be. Thinking that, I felt along the cord that protruded from the back of the phone. Doing that, my hands found the end of a completely severed line. What is this? Having now had the same thing happen twice, my bafflement was accompanied by a sense of unease. It seemed that the cord had been severed cleanly by the sharp blade of some point. And I may be mistaken, but it didn't look like much time had passed since it was cut. Excuse me, hello? Opening up the booth window of the tobacco shop, I looked for somebody in the dimly lit interior. Eventually there were sounds of somebody plodding down some stairs, and an old lady appeared. The old lady's plodding and lethargic steps for some reason only served to make me feel frantic. Need some cigarettes? Need to get my husband. I'm not here to buy cigarettes, rather this phone here. Realising that saying the phone was broken and asking them to take a look at it was going to get me nowhere, I swallowed back my words. Sorry, it seems this phone's broken. I was wondering if you'd tell me where there's another payphone. Old lady moved her jaw up and down slowly, as if chewing on the meaning of my words. It seemed that she wouldn't understand until she had digested things thoroughly. So the phone is broken? That's dilly of a pickle. Should try another payphone. The old lady directed me to another payphone that seemed quite a ways away. Her way of telling me was so long-winded that I inadvertently started to get impatient. That moment, I spotted a clock in the dim interior of the store. Minute hand was just about to point straight up. Even if there was a phone right here that I could use, I'd only be able to tell Yuki a good night by the time I'd left. Top of that, my destination was a remote payphone, which I didn't know the exact distance to. If I was of a normal state of mind, deciding to give up the phone today would have been the natural thought process. But at that moment, I'd become somewhat stubborn for some reason. Unable to use the phone in the hospital and coming out here and still being unable to use one, there was no mistaking I'd become quite insistent on using a phone. Thank you very much. I'll try looking for that phone booth. Refusing her offer to draw me a map, I left the tobacco shop. And that, folks, is where we're going to end this off here, on that wonderful cliffhanger. I am going to say thank you very much for watching. It is very much appreciated, and I do hope that you enjoyed. I will be streaming Dishonored 2 this Saturday, where we will be taking on the Duke of Sarkonos. My brain is shorted out. We'll be taking on the Duke, that's what we're doing. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2, where we will be watching the new trailer for the next bit of story, and then continuing with Shadowkeep. Then on Tuesday it'll be Final Fantasy XIV, where I will be going down where it's better. Down where it's wetter. Then next Wednesday will be a surprise indie pride, not surprise, a special indie pride stream where I'll be streaming a game called Heaven Will Be Mine, which I'm very excited to try out. And then next Thursday we'll be continuing and probably finishing Higurashi When They Cry, Himatsubushi, sorry. And seeing what happens next. If you have a few pounds or dollars to spare and would like to donate to a good cause, I'm currently fundraising for the Bale Project via Tiltify. The link has just popped up in Twitch chat, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be down below. It's tiltify.com/@mochistreams/mochi-4-BLM. So take care everybody, have a wonderful evening, do look after yourselves. I'm gonna have a shit ton of water to drink because my throat really hurts, and I shall see you guys on Saturday.